Alrighty then. What's going on, everybody? This is Randall419, the man with the million, and fortunately, you're gonna have to be looking at Peppa Pig gameplay for a little bit. I basically got bullied into using this awful footage for the show by the one.
Do you realize?
The one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. Basically, he's mean. He's mean. He put out a poll, and it was just like, you're using it, bro. Whatever. You guys are gonna have to look at Peppa Pig for a little bit until I switch it to something different. But yeah, I apologize to anybody who's coming in here and is like whatever, and then they see Peppa Pig. I lost this battle. I apologize,
Dude. The people love Peppa Pig. You see, you're not seeing the chat. Everyone's hyped as hell for Peppa Pig. This is going to be our best show ever. This is going to get the most clicks, the most engagement.
The best.
When people find out Peppa Pig is here. I spent my Saturday recording this footage, especially for the show, and Rand didn't want to use it. People, he was refusing. He was even threatening to veto Peppa Pig. So I put out the poll to put political pressure on Rand to get the glorious Peppa in her rightful place as Xbox Game Pass's premier title for the year. And 80% of you voted for Peppa. So yes, for those who are watching the video broadcast, we have the wonderful British game Peppa Pig here for your delectation.
Yes. So that means the definitive version of this show will be the audio Spotify, iTunes versions where you don't have to see the video. You know, and the one time I will say that is probably the version you want to watch. So welcome everybody into the podcast. It's another glorious Friday, August 5th. And, I made a couple videos this week, Jez. Coming out of like my shell, kind of feeling like, maybe we should make some videos again, stuff like that. And I had a really good time making those last two videos. It was fun. Maybe pissed some people off. Using my clickbaity language in the titles, but I thought I explained my stances pretty well. But before we get into all of that, the Xbox 2 podcast, this episode is once again sponsored by Manscaped. And Jez, you have more to say about that, correct?
I do, Rand. Because once again, we are sponsored by Manscaped. And if you hadn't heard already, it's smooth sack summer. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're escaped from pubes to bum. That's right. This is the summer to keep your balls cool while still looking hot with Manscaped. The leader in below-the-belt grooming is making sure we have all the balls this summer by giving you... by giving our pants partners everything they need to stay fresh. Dive headfirst into smooth sack summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with our code XB2. That's XB and the number 2 in the checkout for 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com. It's smooth sack summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind. Smooth sack summer, Rand. Are you here for it? Are you here for smooth sack summer? Do you think Peppa Pig's dad uses Manscaped?
I mean,
pigs get pretty hairy, right?
Yeah, they do. No? They do get pretty hairy. Peppa Pig.
Yeah, so, what a juxtaposition. We've got Manscaped. right next to Peppa Pig. I think that's probably some kind of like branding crossover that nobody ever thought they would see happen. But that's the kind of thing we do for Xbox 2. We give you these exclusives, like 20% off and free shipping with Manscaped.com with our code XP2 in the checkout. So thanks to Manscaped once again for sponsoring and powering the Xbox 2 podcast.
Yes. And recently, I will say I started using the Manscaped 2.0 boxers. And
you did?
Yeah. They are quite amazing. I will say
right?
they're a little bit on the expensive side for like 3 pair. But when you use the code 20, you use the code XP2, you do get 20% off. And
yes, indeed.
I was a little bit, because you told me how good they were, and I was like, all right, well, eventually I'll try it out. And I was like, you know what? Why not try it out this week? And it's probably the best I've ever had, like, honestly. So I know not everybody maybe wants to do the whole smooth sack stuff with the little trimmers and stuff, but look into the boxers because they're pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, everyone needs boxes, right? And Rand, these are the only boxes that have trademarked the crotch pouch.
Yeah, the jewel like case pouch thing. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, the jewel,
which we
pouch.
know that's what Peppa uses. Peppa uses that.
Yeah.
So, thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring the show, and thank you guys for tuning in on this Friday. We're glad we can be doing the show today. Jez is pulling double duty because he just got off a Windows Central podcast, although this is the real podcast. If you guys are, do us a big favor, make sure you hit the like button, share this out on social media, let people know that me and Jez are live. We have a lot here to talk about. What everybody was talking about this whole week, PlayStation scared of Xbox Activision trying to block the deal? Say it ain't so. And Xbox saying, what's so special about any of this stuff? It's kind of a funny dichotomy between the two. One of Jez's leaks has come true. It's weird when people still doubt you about stuff. The Xbox Game Pass family plan, talking a little bit about that. A lot of people wanted us to talk about WB Discovery and all these different things. So we have a bunch of topics here that we will delve into. So hit that like button, share this out, and we're going to try to have a good show. We're going to try to have a really good show for you guys. And
hell yeah.
Let me get a couple of these super chats out of the way really quickly, and thank you anybody who supports the show in that way, whether you're just lurking in the shadows or chatting up a storm in the comments or getting a super chat, for us to discuss at length. We appreciate all the support. So Goldshill says he's got 550 miles left on his road trip. Have a great show. 550 miles is do you know how long that is, Jez? You know how long 550 miles is?
Yeah, because funnily enough, Rand, we actually use miles in Britain.
Oh, really?
So, in Britain, we like to be as confusing as possible and use Celsius, but then use miles. We use pounds, but we also use grams. So we just like, we like to mix it up in the UK. So I actually know miles better than kilometers. So I don't know how many kilometers that is, but 550 miles is a lot of miles.
That is. That's a long road trip. So
that is a long.
Hopefully we can keep you a little entertained, get some miles done. I wonder where Goldshill's going. So Face 23BKNY says, did the 16 minutes of Gotham Knights gameplay make you more or less interested in the game? Actually, I didn't watch the 16 minutes of gameplay. I don't really need to see gameplay from Gotham Knights. I'm going to get it day one anyways. I will say that the gameplay we've seen of the previous stuff of Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing really didn't look the best. I sort of feel like the game needs to be delayed. But I'm still going to get the game when it comes out, and I'm going to play through it because I'm a big Batman fan, although what the hell is going on at WB? Like, what?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on? See, we got people saying they're switching to a PlayStation podcast now because we have Peppa Pig footage. This is what I was worried about, Jez. This is what I was worried about.
Why are we a PlayStation podcast?
I'm just
Peppa
saying
Pig is the
they're
premier Game
going to
Pass.
switch. They're going to switch to PlayStation.
Oh,
podcast
they're going to switch.
because they don't want to see Peppa Pig.
Well, they don't appreciate the greatness that is Peppa, pork-related Game Pass gameplay that we have. There's a lot of alliteration you can do with the P's of Peppa Pig. And so I just want to get this comment. AJH in chat says, "You're welcome, Americans. We are slowly turning all of your children British. We played the long game." Yes, that's the truth about Peppa Pig. It's a psyop. It's a psyop to spread the British accents. I read that Peppa Pig was causing American children to grow up with British accents, which I think is amazing and hilarious. But I know you're not happy about this, Rand. I can tell. I can feel Rand seething down the microphone at me forcing it to use Peppa Pig for the show.
Well, honestly, I'm getting flashbacks to what some of my gaming life was like during the 360 era when I used to play stuff like this not all the time because there wasn't like games like this didn't come out, but like if this was the year 2012 or any year in between 2005 and 2017, I would have played this game. And so like I look at it and I just have like PTSD, man. I got flashbacks, It's just like, yeah, you would have played this. And people, so I look at it and I'm just like, what did I used to be? Anyways. Yeah. We got Chio Walker saying, dropping the money for the Peppa Pig video. Okay.
See, there you go.
Paul says, I'm as offended and scared by seeing this gameplay of Peppa Pig as Sony is to Xbox owning COD. Ooh, that's a good one.
Ooh,
that's
some spicy bacon.
That's pretty interesting. Killer 2A says, have you guys seen the bot infestation in the Xbox looking for group section? It's absolutely ridiculous. You can't find normal people anymore. I actually did see that. One of my buddies mentioned that to me. I do think Xbox is looking into it though. Clearly, that's probably something that they want to fix. It always seems like whether there's some messaging stuff, like bots always tend to ruin everything. Like, remember there was a problem with it on Xbox messaging, PlayStation messaging. It just seems like they find some way to sort of, I don't know, spread their message, I guess. But yeah, I've never really used looking for groups, so.
Some of the problems is because it's connected up to PC as well, and I think it's easier to run these kind of bots which do infect platforms when it is available on the web or it is available on PC. But I suppose they are looking into it. I'll probably write an article about that next week because that's pretty interesting. I'll probably tie it into Xbox clubs as well, which seems pretty dead, especially with them integrating Discord more deeply. But yeah, it's interesting comments there.
RDX Son of Fett says, does COD go to $60 on Xbox after acquisition? And if so, what about PS5 version? Xbox seems to be sticking to 60 and not 70. So, yeah, let's kind of talk about that specific question. Because Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is $70 for like all versions, right? I did see Tom Henderson say that there is some sort of campaign early access, because I guess they're showing off Call of Duty to influencers or something, and people have played it or seen it, and Tom is getting reports that there is some sort of campaign early access. I would imagine it's tied to probably the highest tiered bundle, where it's like, hey, give us $100 and you can play the Call of Duty campaign a week early or something, right?
Yeah.
So, but the pricing on this, do you think when Microsoft controls COD, do you think they will force, let's assume the pricing stays the same on Modern Warfare 2, because I can't really see them being like, no, it's not 70, it's going back to 60. So let's talk about like what would be the next game, like the Treyarch game. Do you see them dropping the next game to 60? Or do you feel like maybe, because Xbox is a little hands-off. They let the studios do what they want, but does that also include pricing? Like, do the studios themselves price their own games or give feedback on what their games should be priced? Like, would
I'm kind of like, I'm kind of bullish on the idea that Microsoft's just gonna eventually move to $70 across the board.
Okay.
I think like with inflation, the cost of living, people like angling for pay rises and stuff. Some of those costs, like the supply chains across everything, is going up, and I think Microsoft will follow suit to $70 at some point. That's my instinct. I could be completely wrong, and Microsoft could be like, "Nah, we want to be firm on $60, and we want to try and influence the industry to pull back to $60." Maybe they could do that, but I personally think the more likelihood the business decision with all this stuff going on, probably they'll stick card at $70 and maybe even follow suit with the rest of it. I could be wrong. Obviously, I want to be wrong. I remember being a kid in the 90s and not being able to afford Majora's Mask because it was 80 quid, which by today's money is like 100 quid. And like all the kids at school were talking about Majora's Mask and I couldn't afford it because it was just mad expensive. But I suppose Microsoft's argument will be, we've got COD in Game Pass.
Yeah.
If you don't want to pay $70 for Call of Duty, here it is in Game Pass, which, thanks to the family plan, potentially get it for $5 a month,
Yeah, so I guess we would maybe get a sneak peek of their plans, assuming the deal goes through before Diablo 4 comes out, because as far as I know, Diablo 4 has not been priced yet, correct?
It has not been priced, no. Well, actually, let me check that, because I do think there are pre-order bundles up on Battle.net right now.
Are there?
So let me just check that
because I know there's no pre-order yet on the Xbox store, because I was looking at that last night. So I just assumed...
I could be wrong. Just let me just double check. Okay, so there's no Diablo 4 section on Battle.net right now. Maybe I just dreamt that. Did I just dream that?
So yeah,
am I living in a dream world? Is anything real anymore?
So maybe we'll find out Microsoft's plan, because I'm assuming Diablo 4, if Activision was still running the company, I would imagine Diablo 4 would be $70, right?
Yeah, I imagine so, yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if Xbox and Microsoft complete the deal, whether it's later this year or whether it's early next year. Because, what is your, first off, what is your read on the release date of, or when do you expect Diablo 4 to come out? Like March, April, May, somewhere around then?
Diablo 4, yeah, he's probably sooner than people think. I think it's probably quarter one or quarter two next year. It's in testing right now. Friends and family alpha testing is what Blizzard calls it. And when I've been in friends and family alpha tests before with Blizzard, and typically they're about 6 months ahead of release. So what friends and family alpha means is that Blizzard employees can test Diablo 4, and they've also got codes that they can give to close friends and family members who have to sign an NDA and stuff. So it's basically literally, as it says on the tin, friends and family alpha, which means that we are sort of getting very close to the game being launched. So, some people in chat were mentioning, Rand, that Michael Pachter said recently that Xbox Game Pass could hit 1 million.
Well, we'll talk about that because one of the members of the channel asked a thing after this, so we will discuss that once we get through with this question or this topic. Right. So let's just say March or April. Let's say the deal goes through in January. And, there's some people out there thinking it'll go through in September. Either way, the idea is it goes through before. So Xbox owns Activision. They own Diablo. I would assume they put it day one in Game Pass, because it doesn't sound like there's any marketing with Sony. In fact, I think there's marketing with Xbox, which is great. So then, does Diablo 4 come out at $60 or does Diablo 4 come out at $70? I think that would give us a good indication of Microsoft's future pricing plans, maybe, for what they would do with those games. I don't know. What do you think?
It's just hard to say. It's hard to say because there's so many moving parts right now with the economy, supply chains, and stuff like that. I mean, it's hard to say.
It's hard to say.
Go either way.
Yeah,
I don't like planting my flag. You know me, Rand.
Yeah, I
like
know
to
you.
stand
You
the
don't.
fence.
You like to waffle every single time. You don't like to put unless you got like verified document implementation, and you're like, I know this for a fact, right? You very much are like, I don't know, and I always tell you like, I always try to improve as a speaker. I know I have my vocal fillers. Right, I say like too much, or I say too much, or something. Everybody has their vocal fillers, and I try to be conscious of that when I speak. I try not to use it, and I always tell Jez, your Jez always, and I'm sure people in chat can tell Jez what his vocal fillers are, but Jez loves to say something really insightful for about 3 minutes, and then end it with, "But I don't know." But I don't know. I could be wrong, and it's like at first I thought I was like, okay, sure, you're waffling here, but then I realized that's actually a vocal filler for Jez because he doesn't know how to properly end whatever he's saying, so he just ends it with, "Yeah, but I don't know. I could be wrong." You know, you do that. You do that.
It's also like, it's a great disclaimer. It's a great caveat because I don't want people going out there being like, "Oh, just said this and it didn't happen," because people do that.
True.
They always do that.
They do that.
I'm traumatized by that.
They do that.
And yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah. Miguel Evers, who's been a member for 3 months, says, "You guys rock. Jez is always on the money." What am I, just chop liver? I guess I'm included in the rock stuff. But yeah, Jez is always on the money. Michael Pachter just said 100 million subs are in Game Pass's future when the Activision Blizzard deal closes. Any thoughts? That is a lot. I'll let you go first, Jez, before I give you my opinion on that whole thing. Like, what do you think of what Michael Pachter's predicting 100 million subs, which would be really utterly now you would understand why Sony's basically out there trying to get the deal to stop and being like, it's anti-competitive. Go ahead. What do you think?
It's to imagine that Michael Pachter's right. That would be incredible, because you have to think like, and I'm just thinking about the devs, right? We're, as consumers, we're getting the value, right? But 100 million subscribers would give Microsoft a huge amount of clout to get some of these games that keep missing the platform. Like, just this week, what is it called?
Tactics Ogre Reborn. Something like that, yeah.
Tactics Ogre Reborn, which looks like my kind of game, frankly, Rand.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like my kind of game. I never played the original, so playing the remastered version, I would have been very excited to do that. But it's skipping Xbox arbitrarily. It's coming to PlayStation, it's coming to PC, it's coming to Switch. It's not coming to Xbox for no reason. But I feel like if they had 100 million subscribers, many of whom, or most of whom, had cloud gaming access, there's no way Tactics Ogre would skip launching on cloud. Because you have to remember, guys, Xbox is going to let you buy games to play in the cloud soon. So even games that aren't in Xbox Game Pass, you know, like Tactics Ogre maybe, that would be purchasable on mobile devices in the future thanks to the cloud. So this grows, if they do hit 100 million subscribers in cloud gaming and Game Pass, this grows the Xbox user base, because all those cloud gaming gamers are Xbox gamers, because cloud games are running on Xbox Silicon. So they are Xbox gamers. The audience grows, which means we get more games, which is better for everyone, right? But on Microsoft's side, obviously they're happy because they got 100 million subscribers, and developers are happy because they've got a much, much bigger audience upon which to sell microtransactions potentially in the future. And so the idea of them hitting 100 million subscribers it seems very impossible and optimistic.
Yeah.
And it's like, can this really happen? But, you know, Michael Pachter's a veteran analyst, and I want to believe that he's right, you know, because I think it would be good for us as gamers more than anything. We get the bigger audience, we get more games in Game Pass, which is cheap, and I like cheap because I am cheap, right? But also for games that aren't in Game Pass, they get a bigger audience. They get more retail sales when Microsoft does start letting you buy games to play in the cloud at retail. So it's better for everyone, presumably. That being said, 100 million people into Game Pass. That sounds astronomical. It sounds impossible. Could it really happen? I don't know.
Well, Dan Booker in the Super Chat says, Game Pass growth has slowed down dramatically. Well, I mean, we don't know that, but I could see it slowing down because...
Didn't they literally just say that subscriptions was the only part of their business that grew?
I mean, they did say that the Xbox Game Pass did see growth. So the question is how much growth? But,
there's been no games.
I have been thinking, like, Game Pass last few months haven't been great. So I was thinking, well, maybe the growth during the summer has been slower. But Dan says he thinks it's slowed dramatically, and we don't really get numbers from Microsoft, so anybody can guess. And he says, and that was happening before the industry started to slow down, which is true, right? We've seen reports that people are spending less on games. But then I've also seen it said that people are actually spending more on subscriptions, though. Like MPD reported people are spending more on microtransactions. So, he says it's never getting close to 100 million. I mean, never say never. I guess it depends on the type of content you get. Call of Duty is going to be a big one. It's the reason why Sony's been saying what they're saying. I mean, a lot of people kind of overlook the deal that they made with Riot at the Xbox E3 showcase, doing the PC thing, and then if you eventually, if you penetrate some markets, like India, Brazil, some of those ones that use cloud gaming, as they've said, hey, we had 4 million people play Fortnite through cloud gaming, and 1 million of them were new to the Xbox system. So, if cloud gaming penetration goes up, you start going into more places that didn't buy Xbox consoles. And if you have a cheaper Xbox Game Pass subscription, like we've talked about on the show, I think there should be a $5 tier for strictly just streaming. Like, if you only want to stream, like, I would imagine Microsoft's future, it's like right now everything's console-based, PC-based, so it's like, okay, and streaming's just a perk. But the focus they've put on cloud streaming in general, right now it's seen as like more as an additional thing, but eventually it's going to be more seen as a primary thing. Like they're doing the stuff with the Samsung TVs. I mean, they're slowly getting in that direction, right? Eventually, when Game Pass is everywhere streaming, it would be a little. I think it would be a little bit. I don't want to use the word wrong, but I think it would be odd and not business savvy to essentially say to a person in India or one of these other countries that is never getting an Xbox console or playing PC, hey, pay us $15 a month to pay for things that you're never going to use. Like, it needs to be cheap. Mobile stuff is cheap. So in my eyes, at some point, they're going to have to create a subscription that is literally cloud streaming only for like $5.
You see, Rand,
so
I've thought about this because I did put that out there that there should be a Game Pass Streaming Lite edition. But I think the reason it's in Game Pass Ultimate in the first place is because their user behavior analysis probably suggests that people who play in the cloud, perhaps they primarily play in the cloud. And for cloud to be economically viable, when you take in bandwidth costs to consider, and also the fact that Google blocks microtransactions in Game Pass Cloud if you install it from the Google Play Store, it's probably only economically viable at $15. That's something I've been considering, because even Spotify You know, they have like their student tiers and stuff like that. But the price of Spotify has been creeping up in recent years. Netflix has been creeping up in recent years too, especially for 4K streams. So, you know, it's interesting to consider some of this stuff and the arguments for and against it. But I do think you're right though. When you factor, like 100 million sounds insane. It sounds impossible. It sounds,
well, especially once it
beyond...
closes. Like, because let's be generous and assume Xbox is at 30 million right now, right? Just a little generous. And like he's basically saying when it closes, somehow it's going. You know, maybe I don't think he maybe meant like right the day it ended, but soon after it would go up 70 million subs to 100 million. I like Michael Pachter. I've met Michael Pachter. I think he's a very interesting dude. I think he's very charismatic. But I also think awesome. He says things to get into the news. And, you know, I know a lot of people saying, oh, well, I can make crazy predictions like Michael Pachter. You know, I don't get paid like it. But I'm pretty sure he's been working at Red Brush Securities forever. So he must be really good at his job. And basically you can look at all of Michael Pachter's quotes dating back generations to see the outlandish things he said over the years that, you know, never came true. And I think this is one of those that maybe it does happen. 100 million happens 10, 15 years from now or something. But I can't see it happening in the next 5. I think Microsoft would be ecstatic if they could get it up to 50 million in the next 5 years, right? If they double what it is right now, I think they would be absolutely ecstatic. But 100 million? I don't know. I don't know. Like that seems a little bit absurd.
Like, it does seem absurd, but you have to remember that the massive, massive, massive player bases that exist out there, and like. One of the things that you do get with this Riot deal they're doing, right? The deal with Riot on League of Legends and League of Legends Wild Rift. The deal for those games is not just like you get the games. Well, it's nothing to do with the games because the games are free. What the deal is, you get all of the bloody characters. Now, like, I've been playing League of Legends Wild Rift on my phone recently, which is a MOBA, touch-based MOBA. You know, it's pretty fun. And, you know, it's a bit tough for me as someone who, you know, not very good at MOBAs, but a lot of people play it. It's a very big game. Like, this is a franchise with, you know, hundreds of millions of players, right? And as part of this deal, they get all of the characters in all League of Legends and League of Legends Wild Rift and all the rest of it and Teamfight Tactics and whatever. They get all of that as part of the subscription. If you were to buy all of those characters outright, we're talking hundreds of dollars. So even just for the characters in League of Legends Wild Rift, just one game, you are saving insane amounts of money and Valorant and all those other stuff. So, like, I think what the whole thought process behind this stuff is, like, Game Pass can be something different for everyone. Maybe someone who's very, very into Riot games, maybe they subscribe just to get the characters in Valorant and League of Legends and whatever. They don't even touch cloud gaming. They don't even touch, you know, the console stuff. They don't touch any of that stuff. All they want is the characters in League of Legends. When you think of things like that, I think it easily could hit 100 million subscribers, you know. Because there'll be people who subscribe literally just for the Riot aspect of this deal. There'll be people who subscribe just for the cloud aspect of this deal. There'll be users who come in through the new family plan, which we're going to talk about in a minute, which is going to expand the amount of active users in Game Pass by leaps and bounds. And people in chat like Xiong, for example, are saying, like, this also applies to Riot's upcoming free-to-play shooter Project L. You know, which I didn't even hear about.
I thought Project L wasn't Project L a fighter, or am I thinking of something different?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a free-to-play fighter.
Right.
But the Riot deal for Game Pass also applies to that game.
Right.
And maybe it'll even apply to the MMO they're working on. They're working on a Genshin Impact World of Warcraft competitor as well, based in the League of Legends universe. So there's a huge amount of potential just in the Riot deal. And I know, like, a lot of the people listening to this show, like none of us are really that into Riot games. We play an Xbox where these games don't exist, like Teamfight Tactics, Wild Rift, and Valorant. None of these games are on Xbox, although I think Wild Rift is supposed to be coming to Xbox. But this is all about mobile. This is all about PC, and those subscribers count, right? And maybe like, you know, when Microsoft is able to say to like Square Enix, you know, we've got an install base of 100 million in our cloud platform. Are you sure you don't want to put Tactics Ogre onto our system? Are you sure you don't want to do that? You know, so there's a lot of facets feeding into this. So the more I talk about it, you know, the more my console mindset fades into the background, and I start thinking about these massive economies and these massive user bases, all of these mobile gamers and stuff like that. I think it really could hit 100 million subscribers. I think we are going to see a fundamental shift in the way Xbox business is, and it's ultimately all anchored in the console because cloud is powered by console. Every cloud user is an Xbox user. It's just their Xbox isn't in their house; it's somewhere else, you know. But they're still an Xbox gamer. It's still got the Xbox UI. It's still got party chat. It's still got all that stuff. It's still an Xbox. It still gets achievement pop-ups. The Xbox just isn't in their home, and it's really, really intriguing. It's really compelling, and I just hope, I honestly hope, as an Xbox gamer, this stops games from just skipping the box. I want to play Tactics Ogre on my Xbox. I want to play it in the cloud. I want that stuff, you know, and I want that money that Microsoft's going to make from all this reinvested in first party. I want to see Xbox grow, and I want to see gaming come to more people. I want to see, you know, franchises like StarCraft and Diablo and World of Warcraft hit more audiences and get more people. I want to see World of Warcraft grow again, you know, because it's been fading out. Like in Activision's financials, they had to admit again that their monthly active users have declined below 100 million for the first time in years and years and years. And part of that is, you know, I think it's competition from the free-to-play space, you know. Part of that is competition from Tencent and Riot, because if you can play these games for free, why wouldn't you? And which is why I think services like Game Pass are going to save AAA gaming. And
well, also it's because a lot of people.
I don't know.
A lot of people
we'll just have to wait and see.
A lot of people did. Yeah, there you go with your vocal filler. A lot of people didn't like Vanguard. It is not a well-liked game, and I think that's one of the reasons why people dropped off it. I mean, if they see continued declines with Modern Warfare 2, a game that is highly anticipated by the Call of Duty community, then alarm bells should probably start ringing, right? So I guess we'll see how Modern Warfare 2 will perform. Goldshill, he super chatted back in and saying he's driving from Delaware Beach back home to Eastern Kentucky. Well, have a good trip. Xbox Obi, my buddy, says, Randy, better keep me entertained in this 2-hour drive to the beach. We'll do our best, Obi, and you're missing the Peppa Pig gameplay. So if you're driving, you don't get to see this amazing Jez gameplay of Peppa Pig. George says, I'm nervous Xbox being done for 2023 after Starfield. I've seen this sentiment a lot, mainly because of, you know, people thought Starfield and Redfall were this year, and then they weren't. And now, because Xbox did the 12-month thing at E3, they feel that, like, that's a sign that Xbox doesn't have anything for the back half of 2023. And that, you know, essentially Xbox will have all these games in the first half of the year and then nothing for the back half. To steal one of Jez's fillers, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I would hope, and I would imagine that they have a lot of games, and I would imagine some of those will be ready, whether it's a Hellblade 2, or whether it's an Avowed, or whether it's a Contraband, or whether it's Project Belfry, or something along those lines. Like, I think something else should be ready. But then again, everybody was like, Starfield's a lock for 2022, Rand. Don't you even dare hint that it might get delayed.
Wasn't that you who said that?
Yeah, it was definitely, it was me. It was me that was on this show every single week being, Starfield's a lock, baby. It was me and phone calls to Cold Eastwood, and I'd be like, hey, maybe Starfield needs a delay. No, Rand, it's 100% coming. You know, like, yeah, that's definitely me. 100% lock. 100%.
Oh dear. Well, there's a lot of stuff coming, and we're all sick of waiting for it. I think part of the problem is that I leaked so much of it, so like that adds to the perception of waiting. We're waiting to see Project Dragon, we're waiting to see Project Belfry, we're waiting to see that the Battle Royale from Creative Assembly. Is it Creative Assembly who are making it? I can't remember.
For what
I always
game?
get
What game?
Certain Affinity. The Battle Royale for Halo Infinite from Certain Affinity, or the Warzone mode. And then Certain Affinity is also supposedly working on some kind of Monster Hunter game for Xbox as well. Project Swerte, which we have yet to see materialize, and we haven't seen Belfry materialize, and all these other projects that we know about. But it does give us a perception that we're waiting and waiting and waiting, when usually we'd be sort of kept in the dark, and we just sort of have this expectation of, oh well, they'll announce these games as and when, But I suppose they're gonna have something for the tail end of 2023. I think they were very deliberate in saying, like, we're only announcing games in the next 12 months, because maybe some of the games for the back end of 2023, maybe they're still not 100% sure if they are going to launch at the back end in 2023, given the state of the world in the last couple of years. But I'm pretty sure they will have something for 2023, the back end. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
There we go.
I'm going to have to exaggerate it now every time, just so it's not a vocal filler.
Don't say it. Just don't use it. Like, come on.
No, I'm going to use it. I want to use it. Wait, why are you controlling me? You wouldn't let me have Peppa Pig almost? And now you're controlling my speech. I feel like I'm in prison in this relationship. We need couples therapy, Rand. We need couples therapy.
Achievement says Xbox shouldn't have to buy Square Enix to get their games.
Yes, I agree.
Yes, there is some Square Enix stuff we're going to be talking about later. Jacqueline, my buddy, says, Gents, WB is undergoing major restructuring, bleeding cash, taking losses, and laying off staff. What is the future of WB Games? Who sells first, WB or Square Enix?
Man, that's an interesting discussion. There's been... for context, for those who don't know, like Warner Brothers and Discovery fully completed their merger now, right? As of this week.
Well, I don't think it was that. I think,
or was it
as April,
or is it?
I think what they completed in
April. Was it April?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're doing, or they've finally finished their plan for restructuring or whatever. So they announced their plan to shareholders, or at least parts of their plan to shareholders this week. Which includes obviously the Discovery platform and then the Warner Brothers side platform. Now, Rand, I never heard of Discovery until this deal happened. I never heard of. I don't even know what Discovery do, who they are, why are they bigger than Warner Brothers? Like, because it feels a little bit like Discovery is dictating a lot of what's going on. Because there's a lot of people freaking out that HBO Max lost a lot of its developmental staff. They're laying people off. There's rumors that the new CEO doesn't want any scripted content anymore. He just wants reality TV shows, which I'm pretty fond of. You know me. I actually had a dream about the Kardashians last night, Rand.
Oh my God, really?
I dreamt that I was BFFs with the Kardashians and hanging out with them, and it was awesome. And I was like, oh wow, I'm like, there was cameras there, and I was on the show, keeping up with the Kardashians, and no, Rand. Why can I can feel you seething again through the microphone? What is this? But Isildur's Bane in chat says Discovery's huge, growing faster than any other streaming platform. I guess it's just like, is it even available in Europe? It's like a lot of these platforms aren't available in Europe, like Hulu and stuff like that. And I don't know if Discovery is available in Europe. I've never heard of it, but Thanos says AT&T sold Warner Brothers to Discovery, so now they own Warner Brothers. Okay, well, it's there's a lot of upheaval here because for a lot of the time over the last few years, while this Warner Brothers Discovery merger thing was going down, a lot of people were kind of like, there was a lot of rumors that Warner Brothers was trying to package up, consolidate, and sell off Warner Brothers to other platforms, to sort of make themselves more attractive for a buyout or something like that. I literally had documents that referred to Traveler's Tale and NetherRealm as a separate sort of entity for like consideration for selling or something like that. I talked about it in a podcast ages and ages ago, and Warner Brothers came out and denied it. But then again, Bungie also denied that they were looking for someone to buy them when I heard they had been looking for someone to buy them. And then Bungie went ahead and sold themselves. So a lot of the time when these companies say they're not looking to sell, they're actually just lying, because the whole point of business is to sell eventually and have an exit. You know, nobody wants to be running their businesses forever into old age. They want to sell. They want to get an exit, and they want to have their sunset. They want to be sipping a margarita on the beach. You know, Rand, you want to be sipping a margarita?
I mean, I would love to be
Rand?
sipping a margarita on the beach. Yeah, why not?
I know you're all about that.
I don't even drink,
You're
but
all
you
about
know,
that shit.
let's do that.
Let's
Drinking
do it,
that
yeah.
that margarita.
I've never had a margarita.
But we've talked about this before, the WB Games thing, because they were trying to sell before they got sold to Discovery, right? And the rumor was they were trying to sell for $4 billion, and a whole bunch of studios were interested. Microsoft, Take-Two, EA, you know, the typical sort of companies you would expect. But I think the problem is licensing. It comes down to the end of the day, licensing. Because Discovery is not going to sell you the Batman IP or the Wonder Woman IP or any of that stuff. And as we've repeatedly said, Microsoft is very keen on owning things. They don't like to license stuff. So
No, they don't.
I sort of feel like if that wasn't a problem, I think WB would have been bought by somebody a long time ago. Like the games segment would have been bought by somebody. But it all comes down to licensing. And then the report that came out not that long ago was like, oh, they're looking to sell but retain the IP and like have an exclusive licensing arrangement with someone. And I don't think people are like, yeah, let me buy Rocksteady, but then have to license whatever they make from WB. You know?
Yeah, that's weird.
They want, like, essentially what they want is, I want to be able to buy NetherRealm and get Mortal Kombat, so I can do with it what I want. I don't want to buy NetherRealm and then have to pay Warner Brothers for the exclusive rights to it. I think that's a hang-up for a lot of it. So the question, like, who sells first, WB or Square? I think Square sells first. I mean, we've already seen they got rid of their Western arm, right? Even in their report recently, they were saying their Western, because I saw people up in arms about this, that like their Western games, like the Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal stuff, sort of cannibalized the Japanese stuff, and people were like, "That's that can't be true." But I think they were more talking about capital resources allocated, like essentially Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal games took up too much resources, essentially cannibalizing the resources available to the Japanese side of the company. As I believe exactly what they meant. But people looked at it like the opposite way. So like, okay, we get rid of this Western division, and then it kind of came out and it was just like, well, Square Enix is looking to sell shares in their studios to people. You saw that, right? Or
I did see that.
I don't know what that means. I don't know if that was like, hey, the Final Fantasy studio, like, we won't sell to you, but you can buy into the studio or something. I don't know. I don't know what that means. And I've seen people.
It's like basically that whole segment to me read like a pitch to Tencent, because that's what Tencent does. Tencent invests in companies, like they own 49% of Epic Games or something like that, and whereas Tim Sweeney owns the other 51%. And they own like a major stakes in, Path of X, like random studios like Path of Exile, Grinding Gear Games, and they're trying to muscle into Ubisoft as well, which was announced this week or rumored or something like that. They're gonna increase their stake in Ubisoft. So Square, to me, that was Square Enix basically just saying like, Tencent, please give us money because we don't know how to make games, or we don't know how to make money anymore, or we just want more money because we want to be sipping our margaritas on a beach, like Rand with his YouTube Millions. So that read to me like a pitch to Tencent, and that's basically Tencent's model. And do you remember at the start of the year, I said this year was going to be the year of Tencent? Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember. Oh, actually,
I did say. Yeah. Maybe it was last year. I did say at some point on the show that the Tencent is coming. They're coming for the gaming industry, and they literally just announced a handheld of their own, Tencent's handheld, which I believe I either told you about or we actually talked about on this podcast before. That
I know you told me about it, but I don't know if we ever discussed it on the podcast.
Yeah, I should have bloody leaked that. Why didn't I leak that?
Yeah, you should have. It's
I knew
Tencent.
that months
Who
ago.
cares? Who cares?
Yeah, I should have done.
You should have.
Maybe I couldn't. Maybe I couldn't leak it for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know, but anyway,
it's possible.
Yeah. But it's Tencent's like spooky, man. They're a spooky boy, and it's another reason why I think the FTC is going to let the Activision stuff slide, because it's ultimately like it's America's favorite company going up against the Communist Party of China's favorite company. If America doesn't let Microsoft compete with Tencent, then Tencent's just going to take over. They're going to take over everything. So that's the whole sort of deal that we're dealing with right now. And Tim Purr says, like, you don't want Chinese investments now. Their economy is struggling. But that's exactly what they do need. Because like China's having like their own like mini credit crunch right now with a lot. They're having like a real estate bust, and a lot of people have investments in real estate in China, which is screwing up their economy, compounded with all this like their COVID zero policies, screwing up their supply chain and stuff. So China's having a bit of an issue with itself right now. But what isn't having an issue right now is American currency. American currency is like on the up and up and up and up. So like. The one thing that you do want, if you are Tencent, is a cut of Western studios right now. And obviously Square Enix is not an American studio, but it's why Tencent's so, interested in the American market, because, the American market is the American market. It's the biggest in the world, right? So it's there's a lot of angles to this. There's a lot of facets to this, and I can't even remember what the original question was, because we went off on a huge tangent about global economics and stuff.
Yeah, well, you did. You went off on a huge tangent.
Of expertise. They say, yeah, that's what I do. I'm tangent Jez. Man, I really, really want a margarita. Shall I see if I got any alcohol?
Yeah,
I'm in the mood now.
You should.
I just start talking about margaritas, and I'm like,
you should.
Man, I actually want some alcohol.
Get a little saucy, because we're going to be eventually talking about PlayStation being scared. We got a whole bunch of stuff here, so getting saucy Jez might be worth it. Plus there might be things you could leak.
I've got some interesting alcohol here, and I don't even know what it is. If there's anyone listening from the Czech Republic or Czechia, sorry, I think it's didn't they rebrand to Czechia? I don't know, but anyway, I've got this. I can't even pronounce it. It's Bekarovka alcohol. I have no idea what it is. Bekarovka, and it's just a bottle and it's 38%. So we're gonna drink some Bekarovka. I don't even know what it is.
Well, don't get too drunk where you hate yourself. But I got to give a shout out to Bruno for becoming the newest member of the channel. Thank you. Justin says, "Did you say we can play our digital library in the cloud soon?" Massive W. Yeah, Xbox did announce that. They say later in the year you'll be able to play select games that you own without it, those games being in Game Pass. So that's definitely something that is happening.
I actually leaked that.
I leaked that. That is
in
true. January. Let's see what else we got here. Just trying to catch up on the chat.
My God,
Achievement
strong.
Achievement says, buy WB Discovery and the studios get lost in the void to the FTC. Microsoft have no entertainment arm and will go through easily and acquisitions there. I mean, I've always been a proponent of buying WB because I think their studios are great. The question is whether or not Microsoft actually wants to get into the entertainment business. That's the only thing where I'm not really sure. I mean, that one analyst thought they should buy Netflix, or that Netflix is cozying up to them. I always like, well, you can buy Warner Brothers Discovery for cheaper, but I mean, that whole Warner, what they're doing with HBO Max, people hate that, and I don't know if I don't know. Like the thing is, like I don't know if I trust Microsoft to run that. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
We were actually talking about this on the Windows Central podcast earlier. How like if you want to pitch something to Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, just tell it has to have a cloud component.
Yeah,
right?
Essentially.
So like does the entertainment business have a cloud component? Kind of with the whole streaming stuff and the streaming subscription, but at least with Xbox, they can also they can sell software licenses for GameFab and Azure Place. Is it GameStack? Sorry, and PlayFab. Like they can sell services to businesses using Xbox. I'm not sure you can do that so much with Netflix. Like how do you sell Netflix to businesses? It's kind of like someone smarter than me would have to figure that out. But if you could figure out a way to use Netflix to sell a cloud business, then you could pitch that to Satya Nadella, and he'd probably say, "Oh yeah, cloud, buy it." As long as it's something to do with the cloud, Satya's all about it. So maybe we will see Netflix by Microsoft someday. I'd be down for that.
Paul says now that Xbox has a Japanese studio, why haven't they gone after any studios over there even before the Activision acquisition? I mean,
dude, I can't drink this. Checking people are hardcore, man. Sorry,
they might be.
I'm just.
We don't know what sort of acquisitions Microsoft's been talking to. Same with PlayStation. You know they're talking to people. They very well could have been talking to Japanese companies, and then the Activision acquisition, the what the word I'm looking for here, the stock price of Activision tanked, and there was that window where it was like, we can get this done, and then it was like, well, who cares about this Japanese company? We're all in on Activision Blizzard, and that kind of pushes everything out. So just because nothing's happened doesn't mean, they weren't trying or won't continue to try in the future. I'm sure they'll be, once the deal goes through, assuming it goes through, they'll assess, maybe areas where they want to go next. So, yeah. Now, Jez, there is a lot of people ask me this, and I got to ask you because our buddy, Mr. Sloth, by the way, Flame says, man, this Peppa Pig gameplay is lit. Thanks, Jez.
There you go.
Sloth hasn't slothed us recently, which is great. I don't like getting slothed. But he put out a tweet recently from a Spanish YouTuber that said he had sources that an Elite Series 3 was coming next year, and it would be tied to a major release, and that, there's some licensed hardware that's going to be launching with Forza Motorsport, presumably, probably like a racing wheel or whatever. And you replied to that saying, essentially, maybe, or you will see a Elite controller or something even before that. So what was that all about?
So yeah, this was interesting. So the Elite Series 3 is actually slightly different to what I've heard, although it may well be what they end up branding the Elite Series 3. I've heard there is a new Elite controller coming, and I'm not ready to give more details about it. But I've heard that it could be coming by the holiday season.
So now,
and I'm not sure if this is
something, maybe
potentially, but maybe also not. But maybe I don't know.
There we go. I knew it was coming. There we go.
I genuinely don't know if it's going to be announced at Gamescom. But I have heard they're going to do some form of new controller, not a standard controller, and not a reskin controller. It's going to be some kind of Elite controller in the Elite controller family, and it's going to launch for the holiday season, or that it was targeting the holiday season. I don't know if it's the Elite controller 3. I feel like if it was the Elite Series 3, I might have had that information definitively, but it might be something else. But I'm not prepared to give any details until I have anything more concrete. So The good news is they're not stopping making Elite controllers. The better news is there might be an Elite controller even before ready for the holiday season. And the bad news is I don't know if it's the Series 3 per the Spanish leakster's information. But it is interesting that his information about Series 3 came about almost the exact same time that I heard there was another Elite controller coming. So it's probably from the same similar place of man. What is in this stuff? I'm like, I've had like one shot and I'm feeling it already. Jeez, it's 38%.
Maybe you need to calm down a little bit with that because we still got a lot of the show, a lot of things to talk about.
Dude, I can't drink this. Like, Czechians are crazy. Like, what is this stuff? It's like it says herbal liqueur, but man, what is it? I like it, but it's hardcore. It's green, so it's like Xboxy. But some people are wondering if I'm drinking absinthe. I hope not. Or I'll be on the floor pretty soon. But I can't even remember what we're talking about now. Oh yeah, Elite controller. So there's a new Elite controller coming, but I don't know if it's a Series 3, basically.
All right. So there you go, Sloth. You can tweet that out with some little update, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll give some more information in the future.
Yeah. So if you guys are enjoying the show, do us a favor. Make sure you hit the like button. Share this out on social media. We greatly appreciate it. George says that same Spanish guy also said a Banjo-Kazooie game's in development and Platinum is talking to Xbox. I mean, I've heard from other people. Nate the Hate and MVG both said that they had heard a Banjo game's kind of being worked on in their predictions video. I wouldn't be shocked Platinum's talking to Xbox because... What are they going to do after Bayonetta 3? Babylon's Fall kind of died. So, yeah, I mean, I want my Banjo game for my Banjo bros. That's what I've been saying. I want my Banjo bros to be happy. I think that'll happen eventually. So...
You're not going to play Banjo? You're not going to get us Banjo footage for the podcast?
I mean, I'll probably play Banjo. I just wouldn't be super excited to play it. Like some people would be. But... Either way, I thought this would be kind of fun to rank the Xbox Studios, the excitement coming that we had. We sort of did this tier list on Twitter, Jez. I thought it'd be fun to talk about on the show. So let me get rid of this Peppa Pig footage and let me put up my little tier list here.
Dude, okay. I thought you were getting rid of Peppa Pig completely.
Well, I mean, people need to see it. So if you're watching the show, you can see my tier list. If you didn't see this on Twitter, I did this thing where I kind of ranked the studios based upon my excitement level for their upcoming projects. Now this would be fun because you guys can do your, what you think in the comments, and we can kind of compare and contrast mine with Jez's because a lot of people had issues with Jez's. A lot of people had a lot of issues. So
well, mine was perfect.
Yeah, sure it was. RR wants to know, will the new controller have DualSense like Sony? I mean, we don't know. We don't even know if an Elite Series 3 exists. I've always been of the opinion, and I'll die on that hill, that there's going to be haptic feedback in the Elite Series 3, because why else even make it? If you're not going to put haptic feedback in it, I don't know what else you can improve upon the Series 2 outside of making sure the controller doesn't fall apart after 6 months. I don't know what else you could do to actually be able to sell the controller for $150 to $200, Maybe
it emits smells.
Maybe.
Or maybe it can sing. Did you see that? Microsoft's doing sweepstakes for the singing Xbox controller right now.
Of course it's a controller.
It sings Snoop Dogg songs or something.
Anyways, taking a look at my Xbox Studios thing, I have the first tier, the S tier. I can't wait. Day one, baby. Well, I mean, a lot of these games are day one, but these are the things that I am most important or the most excited for. And I actually ranked them as the one in the front is the most excited, right? I actually did it all the way through. So for me, as you guys can see, and I'm sorry if you listen to this on Spotify or whatever. By the way, make sure you guys leave us a review on Spotify and iTunes. We'd appreciate it. Give us little click, 5 stars, or leave a little review. That helps out a lot. Appreciate it. Thank you. We have Ninja Theory with Hellblade 2. I think everybody knows that. I'm dying to play that game. I love Hellblade 1. So they're in the number 1 spot for me. Then we got Playground Games. I think they're going to kill it with Fable, even though I don't see Fable coming until 2025. But then they also do the Forza Horizon series, which is amazing, which I think just passed 22 or 23 million players, and over 1 million have played the DLC already, the Hot Wheels DLC. So they're in my second position. Then we got Arcane. You guys know how much I love Arcane. Really looking forward to Redfall. I saw that Redfall is going to be at QuakeCon, Jez. Did you see that?
I did see that.
So
they're doing a live stream, right?
It definitely seems like Redfall seems a lot further along than Starfield, doesn't it? But then again, it was supposed to come out in summer.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, Dishonored, Prey, Deathloop. I wonder if they're going to announce Deathloop for Xbox at QuakeCon. I mean, if it's coming in September, we're at the beginning of August. You would imagine at some point soon they'll be able to announce it for other platforms, right? I mean, we're getting close to that 1-year timed exclusivity that people talk about, right? So
yeah, that is true.
Maybe they'll be able to announce it soon. Coalition would be number 4. Gears 5 was damn good. I expect big things from Gears 6, but also, according to Jez and according to Jeff Grubb, they're also working on something else. New IP, potentially. So I think they're one of Xbox's best studios. That's why they're there. Then we got id Software. I mean, speaks for itself. Doom Eternal, Doom 2016. I mean, Doom Eternal and those 2 games are like FPS masterpieces. I don't know what they're doing next. And even though I don't even know what they're doing next, it doesn't matter. It's can't wait. I'm not the biggest fan of Quake, but if they do Quake, boom. Like, day one, baby. Then we got id Software, or not id, we got Machine Games. Big fan of the Wolfenstein franchise, and as we know, they're doing Indiana Jones. And I cannot wait to see their take on that franchise. I just hope it's third person. But it's part of me is like, Rand, they do FPSs. They're really going to do third person? But I kind of feel Indiana Jones needs to be third person. But what else we got here? We have Bethesda with Starfield. Sci-fi setting, right up my alley. I do love me some Elder Scrolls, but not Fallout. But the sci-fi thing really, really is what speaks to me. And then we have Obsidian. They're working on Avowed and Outer Worlds 2. So those are my can't wait tier. Underneath it a little bit is excited. We got the Initiative with Perfect Dark. I can't wait to play Perfect Dark. Because I think with Crystal Dynamics making it, I'm a big fan of Crystal Dynamics. I love the Tomb Raider games. I even thought most of Marvel Avengers single player was quite good. So I am very, very high on Perfect Dark. So that's why it's there. Infinity Ward, they're the best Call of Duty developer in my opinion. I'm super excited for Modern Warfare 2. So that's why they're there. Raven Software, they do Warzone. I haven't played Warzone in a long time. And I actually can't wait to play Warzone 2. And, their games that they made in the past, I've also really enjoyed, like Singularity. So they're a developer that I quite like. Double Fine's next. Psychonauts 2 was, one of my Game of the Year candidates. So whatever projects they do next, I will definitely be watching. Blizzard, really looking forward to Diablo 4, and I don't really know what else they're doing outside of Overwatch 2, which I'm not that excited for, but I'll play. I'm also not a big fan of survival games, and I know that's something they're doing, but I am excited for Diablo 4 quite a bit, so that's why they're there. And it's kind of an odd one for Xbox Global Publishing. I put that there because we know of a lot of projects like Contraband, Project Belfry, IO Interactive working on Project Dragon. So I'm a big fan of some of those studios. So I was like, well, I might as well put them there. Then we kind of got like a little bit under that where it's like, yeah, I'm kind of excited. And you got Tango, you got In Exile, which Jez berated me. Jez was like, you can't have In Exile so low. I've never played an In Exile game.
Right.
The Wasteland games have never appealed to me. So and we haven't really seen their new projects, so it's tough for me to be like, can't wait and super excited. So I put them there. Treyarch has always, even though people talk about Treyarch being the best Call of Duty studio, I've always found their Black Ops the games to be not as good as the Infinity Ward ones, so I put them there. Compulsion's game. I mean, Compulsion would have normally been a not really, because I didn't like We Happy Few or Contrast. But what we've heard of Project Midnight sounds interesting. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and put them in that tier. High Moon Studios, I mean, I don't know what they're really making. They do Call of Duty stuff, but I did like their Transformers game, and I think they could make great stuff if they were given the ability to do so, so that's why they're there. Turn 10's there mainly as a personal preference thing, because I don't care for simulation racers. I'll play it, it'll look amazing, but it's one of those things where it's just, personally, I won't play it that long. But I know people who are into that sort of genre will love it. And then Sledgehammer Games being like the worst of the Call of Duty developers to make the big three. So I put them there. And then we have the not really tier, let off by 343. Because my hype for Halo and 343 has gone down considerably in recent weeks. And we haven't really seen much of or heard much of the Battle Royale. I mean, that placement for them will change when they start maybe showing stuff. But as of right now, like, I don't know, there's just stuff I was hearing, just like people talking. There's just nobody's really high on 343, even though Forge does look amazing. I don't know, man. I just kind of lost. I'm not really excited. I mean, it speaks for itself. Not really. It's like, so change my mind, 343. I don't care for State of Decay. So State of Decay 3 is right there in the not really tier alongside Rare, because I don't care for Sea of Thieves, even though they just put out Season 7 and people seem to be loving the captaincy update. But Sea of Thieves never spoke to me or any of my friends. And I don't know what Everwild is. So they go into the not really tier. Mojang, I mean, they make Minecraft, so it's like, it's the biggest game in the world, but once again, this is a preference list. Everybody's list will be different. I don't really care what Mojang makes. It doesn't even really seem like they're an Xbox developer. ZX, if you're listening to this, where's my freaking ray tracing in Mojang in Minecraft? You know, like I don't even think, does even Minecraft run at 60 FPS on the Series X or support 4K?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, it just doesn't seem like It just doesn't seem like they support the Xbox console very much. And Minecraft Dungeons was all right, but I'm not sure about Minecraft Legends. So it's just one of those things where it's just, it's not my thing, man. So it's hard to get excited for it. Same thing with World's Edge. They do the whole Age of Empires RTS stuff, and I don't care about any of that. And then you have King. Like, Jez downloaded King and played it for 2 minutes and deleted it. Like, I ain't playing nothing on King, so they go right there. And then you have Unsure, which I guess technically Unsure would be higher than not really. So you got ZeniMax Online, which I don't know what they're making, so it's tough to put it anywhere. I guess that would change when we see what it is. If it's an MMO, it'll probably go in a not really category because I'm not playing an MMO. If it's a regular game, it'll probably go into one of the other 3 tiers. BNOX, same thing. No idea what they're working on, so it's tough to say. Same thing for Toys for Bob. We gotta see what they're doing next. And then Roundhouse and Alpha Dog is just kind of like, we know Roundhouse is helping on Redfall, but they might be also working on a new game. And Alpha Dog is, I think, a mobile developer, but I don't know what their next project is, so they go in the unsure category. So that's my list. Now we're going to bring up Jez's list. So Jez, can you see this? Why don't you explain your list to the listeners here?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna run through it quickly, because otherwise we're going to be here all night. But basically, my list is very different to Rand's, and this is a preference list. Right, it's a preference list, and it's entirely about what I'm excited for. It's not about the studio's quality necessarily. It's about the potential I think for each of these studios have. So naturally, Obsidian's first. because they make RPGs and they're consistent. Everything they make is amazing, pretty much. And the only game in the last million years that wasn't amazing was Sega's fault. So that's Obsidian.
Well, what do you
Obsidian
mean?
is Microsoft's.
What was Sega's fault?
Alpha Protocol.
Alpha Protocol was great.
Yeah, but it was broken at launch, right?
I mean, I guess, but it was still really good though. But go ahead, moving on.
Yeah, Babs, exactly. Like without Sega launching it early, it would have been great. In Exile, second best dev at Microsoft, because Wasteland 3 is a masterpiece. Wasteland IP is a masterpiece. Brian Fargo is a genius, and In Exile also has the best Twitter account, so that helps them up in the list a little bit as well. And then you Bethesda. Bethesda's also amazing. Fallout's amazing. Elder Scrolls is amazing. Starfield's going to be amazing. What more to say? What more to say? It's Todd Howard, baby. You can't beat Todd Howard. So naturally, Todd Howard is at the top. Machine Games as well. It's kind of like Doom, but it actually has a story. So that's why I put Machine Games above id, because Wolfenstein is amazing. It's also amazing. And I'm pretty excited for Indiana Jones as an Indiana Jones fanboy. The Coalition is also amazing because their games have chainsaws in them. No other reason.
And you're a big Gears fan, yes. We all know.
I like Gears.
Yeah.
Gears Tactics was amazing, and it deserves a sequel.
So that's your S tier. That's your.
Yes, that's my S tier.
Okay.
Arcane, I've bumped down a little bit. Arcane would have been in the top tier, but I don't think we're gonna get another Prey, and I don't think we're gonna get another Dishonored. The fact that they're making multiplayer games spooks me and freaks me out, makes me scared, Rand. And also, I don't really like the style of Deathloop. I didn't really like the style of Redfall. It all seems a bit Gen Z to me. So I'm kind of I want Prey. So until they give me Prey, they're going in the second tier. And then you got Double Fine. Double Fine is just, Tim Schafer's amazing. It's just restlessly creative. And I love seeing what they make, even if action platformers aren't my favorite kind of games. I really love everything they're doing there. Twisted, creepy, humor, and all that kind of stuff. Really intrigued by that studio. Undead Labs also, they got some problems, but State of Decay is one of Xbox's most unique games. I love simulation games. If they can just bring the rest of their stuff up to that level, I think State of Decay is my dream game. I just need the quality. To match my expectation. And now Blizzard's gone down Blizzard would be S tier, and a lot of people are surprised they didn't put Blizzard in S tier. And that's because Blizzard sucks lately.
Okay.
Even though World of Warcraft's been handled really poorly lately, StarCraft is dead, and there's a lot of reasons to be annoyed at Blizzard. The only reason they're not lower is because Diablo 4 looks amazing. Diablo 4 looks absolutely amazing. So that's why they're there. And then id Software, like I said earlier, I really love Doom, but it's not quite as good as Wolfenstein in my opinion, so that's why they're number 2. Now, a lot of people were upset that I put Ninja Theory so low in the B tier, which is like what Rand's equivalent is, sort of hyped.
The reason it's sort of hyped is...
Yeah,
they got bird poop in Hellblade 2.
Yeah, exactly. It's because... my issue with Hellblade is that
here we go.
It's not interactive enough.
Here we go.
I know Hellblade 2 is going to have more combat in it, but I don't want an interactive movie, man. I don't like interactive movies.
So here's the thing, guys.
To play games.
Jez wants Hellblade to be something Hellblade isn't, right? Jez wants Hellblade to be a Souls-like. He wants it to be Souls-like.
Or I want it to be a Souls-like, or I want it to be God of War.
And he doesn't want it to have a lot of story, right? And
I want it to be both. I want it to be cinematic action game, not just a cinematic game. But I don't like walking puzzle simulators.
Sure, but I understand that, and I'll give you that the puzzle stuff in Hellblade 1 weren't the best. I don't think we'll see that again,
dude. The fact they haven't shown any combat except for NPCs scriptedly fighting a giant freaks me out.
Okay,
it looks great. It looks like it'd be a great movie, but it's not for me, baby. It's not for me, baby. So that's why they're B, because it looks really good. I just need to see a bit more of it before I commit my emotions to it.
I mean, this is your list.
Similarly,
so
Yes, it's damn right it's my list. ZeniMax Online Studios. I love MMOs, which is why I'm excited for what ZeniMax Online can do if they've got more budget and more time, and they're not sort of, struggling to convert the Elder Scrolls into something it's honestly not. Because I'm not a big fan of Elder Scrolls Online. The combat system is horrible, but they show potential for me as a studio, so I find them intriguing. I want to see what they can do with a unique IP, so that's why I'm excited about them. And then Xbox Game Studios as well. A lot of exciting potential, but a lot of unknowns. Compulsion Games as well. Art style of We Happy Few is incredible, but again, it's kind of like I want to see them get up to that level, similarly to State of Decay. And also Mojang. Like, I really love Minecraft. I like it a lot. But again, it's like, where's the support for Xbox,
Yeah.
And then we get to my C tier. Now, this is basically like all studios that I think are make good quality games that just aren't for me. Like Rare makes Sea of Thieves. It's not for me. Playground makes Horizon, Forza Horizon. It's not for me. But so I'm not excited for anything they make because I don't think they make games that I'm interested in. Same for World's Edge.
What about
Like,
Fable?
I like strategy game. Well, this is it, you see. I have no idea if they can make a Fable game.
I mean, fair
they
enough.
Can make games. The story elements in Forza Horizon are cringe as hell.
Yeah,
okay. Awful,
I'll give you that.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if that's the only indication we've got that Playground Games can make an RPG is the vague story elements in Forza Horizon, which are cringe and they're horrible. So I'm not giving Playground Games any faith until I see more. Okay, World's Edge again, like World's Edge makes real-time strategy games, which are not my favorite genre. I prefer 4X strategy, a bit more slower paced for my old man dumb brain. I can't play RTS games, but I do like 4X strategy. But again, World Edge, they don't make games for me. Now, Tango Gameworks, Evil Within 1 is actually one of my favorite games of all time. I love the Evil Within 1 so much. The creativity, the horror, the tension. The Evil Within 1 is amazing and underrated in my view. Yeah, it was like the performance was horrible originally, and it had the black bars that everyone hated, the film bars or whatever. But they removed that and upgraded that stuff, and Evil Within 1, as it is today, is one of my favorite games of all time. That being said, Ghostwire Tokyo was horrible.
Mm.
It's one of the most shockingly disappointing, low budget feeling games that I would not have expected from Tango. So they've gone all the way down, and also Shinji Mikami sort of like not being a bit non-committal about whether he wants to work with them again and work on games again. It kind of makes me like less excited for what they're doing. And then you've got the Call of Duty studios. Don't really care that much about Call of Duty. I'll play it. If it's in Game Pass, I'll probably play it. But I'm so over Call of Duty at this point in my life. And then you've got my D tier, Rand.
So,
which a lot of people are kind of shocked about.
The D tier for me was just unsure because I didn't know where to put them because I didn't know what type of games they were making. This seems a little bit different for you. This isn't like an unsure tier for you. This is like the bottom of the barrel, essentially. For you.
The D tier for me is like the studios that I'm just not interested in whatsoever.
Okay.
So like right now, the initiative is there, and it's because we've seen nothing from them. We've only heard about studios leaving and stuff like that. And funnily enough, when I made this list, someone actually reached out to me and said that Perfect Dark is actually coming along really well.
Really?
So yeah, they did. So that was interesting to have got that message. That being said, I despise the Tomb Raider games.
Can you give us more information about what this person said about Perfect Dark?
No. Sorry, I cannot.
Did it sound good at least?
Yeah, it sounded like good news to me. So actually, right. the fact this message that I got sent, I probably would put the initiative up a peg.
Ooh, so maybe even C tier. Okay. Oh, a B tier. Yeah. Oh, that's
maybe.
If they're moving it from the bottom tier up to the B tier, that must sound what the info you must have gotten must have sounded real good then.
Yeah, it was intriguing. That being said, we haven't seen anything from them. I just can't stand the Tomb Raider games. Like I didn't like it. I practically liked nothing except the graphics of Tomb Raider games. I know everyone's going to freak out about this, But dude, I just couldn't stand those games. They just felt soulless to me. Lara Croft's characterization was terrible. The none of the puzzles were very rewarding. The gunplay was horrible. They had the worst gunplay ever of a AAA game in my view. And you know, a lot. I know that's going to upset a lot of people, but I just couldn't stand those games. You know, and I just like. I remember like going through Tomb Raider and doing some like going through some dungeon, and Laura's like there, like, oh my god, this building is like thousands and thousands of years old. Oh my god! And then your reward for doing the quest is like shotgun parts. Like the whole game made no sense to me. I just couldn't gel with it, man. So I'm not for that kind of like the fact that like the Crystal Dynamics miss for me. They miss a lot of the details, which I think is important in these kind of games for me. And you know, it feels like there's a lack of cohesion in those games. It feels like they were just kind of like imitating what a Tomb Raider game should be, and I feel like they're going to imitate what a perfect Dark game should be from people who don't really like get it. You know, they don't really get it. They don't really get why the old school Tomb Raider games are great. But anyway, that's why I'm not that excited for the initiative. And then the rest of them are just games I'm not interested in. Sledgehammer makes the worst Call of Duty games. So, you know, that's just the fact. Turn 10 makes simulation racing games, which is one of the least interesting genres in the world to me. King is King. Candy Crush, not interested. High Moon, I wasn't even sure off the top of my head what High Moon make, but aren't they a Call of Duty support studio?
They are.
They are, right?
Yes.
So again, if they're not making their own games, then whatever. Crash Bandicoot, not interested. Alpha Dog, and then you got like Toys for Bob, not really interested again. Crash or Spyro or anything like that. And then Roundhouse Studios, like what, you know, we don't even know if they're making anything or if they're just a support studio. And you got 343, who are I'm actually resentful towards.
Ooh.
I'm resentful towards them because they took all this budget that could have gone to Gears of War and basically squandered it.
Here we go with it again.
No, that's my point. That's my valid point, Rand. It's my opinion. And I think the amount of money that has been squandered on Halo and wasted in various ways is criminal. That could have gone to any number of Microsoft's more competent studios. And yeah, maybe they'll turn it around. Maybe Halo Infinite will get back on its feet, and maybe it'll like, you know, actually be good again. But there's two factors to this. I just don't like Halo. I think it's kiddie and lame, and you know, I don't like the little cartoon aliens running around screaming, "Oh, Master Chief's coming!" It's lame. It's just so lame. I hate it.
Did you see that? Did you? I was gonna say, did you see that somebody completed Most Critical's insane 20K challenge for beating Halo 2 on Legendary All Skulls on without dying? That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I did. That is ridiculous. That's that is crazy. You know, it's super difficult. You know, with all the skulls on and stuff. You know, but it's not my style of game, man. And you know, I grew up on games like Doom and Unreal Tournament and Duke Nukem, and then like Microsoft comes out with this sort of Disney-fied shooter. I'm just not interested, man. So I've never been interested in Halo, and I can appreciate them for what they are. You know, I can appreciate the quality, and like there were aspects of the campaign that I liked. Like I really liked Escharum, and like the game had some good character writing, even if the plot was weird. You know, Escharum was a great character in my view, and also the Gravemind is a great character. Although you know they killed the Flood off, which was their best. The best thing about Halo was the Flood, and they killed them. They killed them off, and then they gave us these dumb robots, which again look like something out of Disney. And then they gave us like, you know, the Banished, which is just the Red Covenant color swap. Man, whatever.
You can go on. You can talk about So a lot of people gave you some gruff for your picks here, huh?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and I get it. I know Halo's the Mac Daddy, but I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. The number one Xbox franchise is now The Elder Scrolls.
That's Minecraft.
It's now Fallout. It's like I mean the icon of Xbox. The icon of Xbox is no longer Master Chief. The icon of Xbox is Fallout Power Armor. It's Dovahkiin's helmet. Like, nobody cares about Halo, man. It's all about those Bethesda RPGs, baby. So, that's
Yeah, all right, well.
Master Chief's yesterday's news, baby. Master Chief's yesterday's lunch.
Those are our rankings for the studios. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about it. Latuya in the Super Chat says, I always wanted a microphone on the Xbox controller. So talking about potentially elite thing they could add. I mean, I know Sony had a microphone in their controller, but no microphones and controllers, please. Achievement says, Alpha Dog is supposedly working on Project Moorcock. You know, Jez always thinks about Moorcock, right? You can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm always thinking about, those sexy code names.
Yeah, and Sigma says, I'm late, but I've been listening to your channel for a while. Thanks for everything, Rand. Hopefully you get back to regular videos soon. I mean, I plan to. It was just a matter of kind of being excited about stuff and getting in the right headspace. And Jez has been bullying me, to essentially do more. And so I was like, I'll put out a couple videos this week, and maybe I'll do one tomorrow.
And they were good.
Yeah, I mean...
The one you did yesterday was really good. It got good traffic too, right?
I don't know.
You battered your algorithm, but...
Well, I mean, my algorithm screwed up because I didn't make videos for a while, but
get back there.
The thing is like I had fun making those videos. You know what I mean? Did you hear my horrible Italian impression that I did in that video?
I did not. You did an Italian impression?
Well, I mean,
it wasn't really offensive.
No, but it wasn't like really. I was just like. Well, we'll talk about it because it's going to be the next topic we talk about. But Reprobate says, just tuning in, and hell yes, Peppa Pig gameplay. People like the Peppa Pig gameplay, I guess. I don't know.
Dude, I'm telling you, Peppa Pig's the boss. Maybe we just do Peppa Pig gameplay every week from now on.
No. Achievement also says, other Xbox game studios need to be like In Exile. They love Xbox. They definitely do. They tweet about it quite a bit. So, yeah. Well, for this next part, I am going to throw on some Call of Duty gameplay, and then we'll switch back to Peppa since that's what people want.
No.
But we're talking about Activision Blizzard. We're talking about Activision Blizzard, so I think it's appropriate. I think it's appropriate.
Peppa transcends. No, Rand, you can't do this. You can't do this to me. Peppa Pig transcends Activision.
Are you really?
Dude, what if Microsoft bought the Peppa Pig IP and then gave 343's budget to the Peppa Pig dance, and we got $1 billion Peppa Pig game? I legitimately think that'd be better than Halo. Like, we could have like a Peppa Pig service game loot shooter where Peppa like goes around. Nah, I don't know where I don't know where I'm going with this.
I'm just saying. I only have the Call of Duty thing on while we're talking about this next topic, and then I will promise to switch it back to Peppa Pig. How's that?
Everyone's sad in chat now.
They'll only be sad for a little bit. We'll switch it back to Peppa Pig, but I figured since this next thing is going to be about Call of Duty and Activision, at least have something that kind of, resembles what we're talking about here. So, the big discussion point this week, and if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Me and Jez greatly appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new, all that good stuff. Is we basically got the opinions of most of the big publishers in the video game industry because of the Brazilian Commission Board. They posted they asked people in the industry questionnaires about the deal, and they posted the stuff online, and people were able to download it and get it. And for the most part, most of the publishers like Warner Brothers, Ubisoft, Google, Amazon, Apple, they basically didn't care. Their thoughts were like, not a big deal, and Call of Duty is competition, right? So that part wasn't the exciting thing. The exciting thing was what basically PlayStation and Sony had to say about it, as well as then what Xbox responded to, throwing a little bit of shade at PlayStation over it. Now, I've talked about it in my video. I want you to go first because I also have a lot to say on this. So, Jez, is PlayStation scared of Xbox Activision? Do they feel threatened by Game Pass? Like, give me your thoughts on this, because I honestly don't know, because we haven't talked about this. It'd be interesting to see what you have to think about this whole Brazilian Commission and PlayStation's thoughts on this whole thing. Take it away.
I don't think Sony's scared.
Okay.
I don't think they're scared. I think what they are doing is defending their shareholders' interests. If they literally just let this deal go through without any opposition whatsoever, I think that's kind of like, it's kind of sus, right?
Sus.
And like some of the things they said, it's kind of sus,
okay.
right? If I was a shareholder who didn't really understand the game business and I didn't trust Microsoft, I'd be like screaming at Sony, "What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this?" You know. So like part of it, I think, is just them doing their due diligence, which is basically defend their business and stuff. I think Sony realizes there's nothing going to block this. I think they realize it's going to go through, but then again, they kind of throw themselves under the bus by saying that like they can't, well, implying they can't match Call of Duty and stuff, right? But you know, it's just kind of one of those things where, what other argument could you possibly make? What other argument could you make? Like if you're Sony, you're sitting there like, well, no big deal, COD's going away. Oh, we're losing any sort of, you know, we're losing direct access to Call of Duty or whatever. You know, now we have to go through Microsoft. They don't have many arguments to stand on because Microsoft still publishes Minecraft on PlayStation platforms. They still publish Minecraft Dungeons. I think, aren't they even bringing Minecraft to PlayStation VR? Did I dream that? Did I just leak that?
Did you just what?
That's the thing that's happening.
Wait, what?
Did I just leak that they're bringing Minecraft to Playstation VR? Or did that already?
I think that's already existed for years. I think it was on PSVR.
Okay. I remember when they were in discussions about that, but they're bringing. You know, it's well, like
so
Microsoft with this big.
This is what we've talked about this before. I had heard, and I have no idea if this is true at all, but I had heard Sony went to Microsoft and was like, "We want Minecraft VR for PSVR." And Minecraft's like, "It's nice to want things, and we'll do that, but we would like crossplay." And Sony was like, "Absolutely not." No. I had heard it from other people as well. You had heard the same thing, so we were kind of sure this actually happened, but who really knows? And Microsoft's like, "We want crossplay." Sony's like, "No." And Microsoft was like, "Well, then you're not getting Minecraft on PSVR." And then
I had it.
Once crossplay happened, suddenly Minecraft VR happened. So, I don't know. Could be one of those things where it might be true, might be not. I don't know. But yeah.
I think like the real fear for Sony is that Microsoft will use Call of Duty as a bargaining chip. If it's true that they did use Minecraft VR as a bargaining chip, and we don't know for sure if they did. We don't know for sure, but it's an industry rumor that Minecraft VR was used as a bargaining chip for chipping, you know, knocking out a brick in the wall of crossplay. Microsoft could literally be like, "Look, we ain't paying your crossplay tax." I think Sony calls it something like lost revenue fee or something like that. It's got a really negative connotation. It's like a guilt driving clause where it's like, yeah, you're hurting our business, so you have to pay extra money to have crossplay. I'm sure like maybe there's potential that Microsoft could bludgeon through that by saying like, if you want Call of Duty, you've got to reduce or eliminate this weird crossplay tax. But to be honest, they could have done that already with Minecraft, frankly, you know. Because Minecraft's entire business model is you can play with your friends across any platform, whether it's phone, web browser, PC, Samsung smart fridge. You know, it's the most cross-platform game of all time, Minecraft. And, you know, Sony supposedly charges a crossplay tax. And we know that from publicized documents from the Epic Games case, by the way. That isn't just something some fanboys made up. That's the Epic Games court case actually included that information because Epic Games has to pay some kind of fee to get crossplay for Fortnite and Rocket League in their games. So, like, could Microsoft use it as a bludgeon? Maybe. But, like, you can't really argue that point in court because it makes you look like a greedy asshole. So they're going for this tactic instead, which is why, like, you know, these sort of disingenuous points aren't going to protect Sony from this deal happening. They're not going to prevent this deal from happening. And I think Sony knows that. I think Sony's lawyers know this, that the argument is weak, because Microsoft can just be like, look at Minecraft. We still put Minecraft on your console. And they can be like, well, you know, even with this deal, we'll still be like third or second or whatever in terms of revenue. We'll still be behind you even after this deal. And then they'll also point out, look at Activision Blizzard's monthly active users. They're going down year over year, month over month. They're going down. So the fact that we're paying a premium is the only way these shareholders are going to get their money back. It's the only way they're going to get their money back, because Activision Blizzard is going downhill fast, you know. So it's, for me, it's all just lawyering and posturing, and I don't think anything will come of it. That's pretty much my only thinking about this whole stuff. I think it's going to go through. I think it's almost definitely going to go through, and it's still trading below the offer share price. So, you know, if you're a gambler, and I'm not a financial advisor, but Warren Buffett has betted a lot of money on this deal going through, and Warren Buffett's like one of the most prolific investors of all time, right?
Yeah.
So certainly, if Warren Buffett thinks it's going to go through, I would probably defer to him than some random podcast on YouTube, frankly. But yeah, Rand, I want to be a millionaire, Rand. I want to be a billionaire. I want to be Warren Buffett. Because I bet right now Warren Buffett's sipping margarita on a beach.
I sent you that article that said there's this podcasting thing where guests are paying hosts of podcasts like $50,000 to appear on their show. And you tweeted out there, be like, hey, anybody want to be on Xbox 2? Got 50 grand to spare? Want to come on? Did you get any takers? Anybody who wants to come on?
I did, yeah, but I don't really want to. I just don't really want to have Elon Musk on the show, man.
Oh, okay.
So I declined him. I was like, sorry, Elon. I don't think you're a good fit for the show, you know, because you're Elon Musk. Nah, I don't know. I think that even for 50 grand, like, that'd be so weird. It's a lot of money, but I know I'll be straight. Rand, I don't know if I told you this, but we've actually had offers to do this, Rand.
Mm-hmm. You tell me this. Yeah.
People have literally offered me money to have a guest spot on our show, but it's always been NFT bros or crypto dudes. It's never been anything other than crypto and NFT. So I was just like, nah.
As you should. As you should. The only thing that we shill here, sir, is Manscaped. You know? So.
Yeah. We'll only shill for Manscaped. We'll never do a guest spot.
Code
I don't know, man.
20% off.
If someone offered us $1 million, I think we could do a guest spot.
Yeah.
We'll do it for $1 million.
There you go.
But not 50 grand.
Oh, 100 grand, sure. But yeah.
100 grand?
You know, I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm a little bit disappointed.
What if it was the Kardashians? Sorry, go on.
I'm a little bit disappointed, though, Jez. Your take on this wasn't as spicy as I was hoping. It wasn't as, you know, it doesn't generate that much discussion where you're just like, it's just lawyers doing lawyering things. That's not fun. It's not fun at all.
I just want it to be straight-laced, man. Because honestly, Rand, I'm kind of just tired of it. I'm tired of the...
Look, I'll be the first one to say, yeah, I'm tired of the Xbox Activision thing. But this stuff breathed new life into the... Because you don't see publishers talking about games or situations like this ever, which is why it was so interesting. And it was because it was also the dichotomy of how Sony talks about Call of Duty versus how Xbox was talking about it, right? So look, I'll go for the spicy take. Like, I'll be the first to admit it. Clickbaited my video titles because that's how YouTube does. I do think, like, I'll agree with you 100%. This is all for the lawyers. This is all posturing. This is all them protecting their business interests. 100%. Agree with you. Everything you just said. But I think Sony doesn't want this deal to go through at all. Like, when you look at Bethesda, Sony is probably like, yeah, it hurts to lose Bethesda, but we'll be fine, right? They didn't say anything about Bethesda at all. Like, it was basically like Microsoft bought them, and Sony was just kind of sitting at their desk being like, whatever, not a big deal. The second Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, Sony's out there in the news being like, Microsoft's going to honor their contracts. They have to. It's written in there in blood, right? Like, they were out there immediately, and you knew they were worried because Call of Duty is the biggest game on console, and it probably makes up a hefty chunk of Sony's annual revenue. And Sony's probably freaking out like, wait a minute, are we about to lose a ton of money we make every single year? Is Xbox about to make this franchise exclusive in some way? Right? So I think this shows what PlayStation really feels about certain things. One, yeah, okay, they're basically blowing Call of Duty to basically tell the regulators just how important this game is. I've never seen a company bloviate over a game like Call of Duty, like Sony did over Call of Duty. Never seen it. I've never seen any company talk about their own games like this. And this is Sony talking about a third-party game, saying it has no rival, and it's indescribable and returns to entertainment, and all the different adjectives they used. You know, they even admitted that people buy consoles for it. Like, they were talking about this game like it was a second coming of Jesus Christ. Right?
You know what I think? You know, when they talk about Microsoft needs to honor their contracts, I don't think they're talking about the game itself.
What do you
They're
think
talking about the marketing deal. I think Sony probably realized that when they got the marketing deal for Call of Duty, and they were able to associate Call of Duty with PlayStation, and it did for PlayStation what Call of Duty did for Xbox 360 back in the day. Because Xbox 360 used to have that deal. It used to have the timed exclusive DLC. It used to have all that stuff. Sony's probably like, well, the first thing we're going to lose is the marketing association. We're going to lose the brand, the connection of PlayStation to the Call of Duty brand itself. That's what they're worried about. They know that Microsoft's not going to pull it. But again, they can't come out and talk specifically about that because, again, it's kind of like, well, that's just marketing, you know. If your entire platform hinges on a marketing association with a single franchise, that's not a good look, right? And it kind of reveals how sort of flimsy, you know, the business model is in a way. So they're sort of trying to frame it like in a way that we'll lose money from the microtransactions or we'll lose money from the game sales or something. But really what it's about the brand association. Because brands are like becoming more important than anything nowadays.
It's more than that, Jez. It's more than that.
They know they're not losing it.
No. It's not. No, it's not about them losing it, right? But it's more than that. And I'll explain. Let me get these super chats though. RR says, "Let's get an Italian bada bing, Rand." I don't know if I can do that. Chaos Might, member for 17 months, says, "I know I'm a bit behind and not sure if Rand answered Jez's question. Discovery is a credit card company. That's who Discovery is." So, I guess their Discovery credit card company. Sith Lord says, "If that's what Jez thinks about Halo, I'm afraid to ask what he thinks about Star Wars. You hit me where it hurts, Jez. It's your opinion, and that's okay."
Dude, I love Star Wars.
He loves Star Wars. Okay.
I love Star Wars. Anything Star Wars related is amazing. So yeah, I realize that's a contradiction, and some people will be like, "Hang on a sec," but Star Wars has had the cute kiddie stuff in it as well. Yeah, but I kind of grew up with Star Wars, and I admit Star Wars is about, for me, 95% nostalgia. It's kind of like Pokemon, right? If Pokemon launched in current year, I wouldn't like it. But Pokemon and Star Wars, they make me feel like a little kid again. And who doesn't like that? But Halo does nothing for me. I think maybe I was just like too old. I missed the boat.
Bro.
And I'd already played hyper-violent games by then.
Bro.
Which made... What?
Not only did you get slothed about the Elite Series 3, or the Elite controller, and the Perfect Dark comment, you got cloberled about the Perfect Dark comment.
I got clobbered. Oh,
cloberled. Because Cloberl just tweeted out, Jez Corden, Windows Central, quote, "Somebody reached out to me and said Perfect Dark is actually coming along really well." You got cloberled, bro.
And there's a lot of like... There's a sort of like... There's a desperation for more transparency on some of this stuff. I mean, how would you feel, right, if Microsoft was more, they were more willing to show alpha footage, similarly to how we've seen like Dragon Age 4, they've shown some alpha clips, and Dead Space, they developed that game almost with the community a little bit. How would you feel if you got to see some of these games in a sort of pre-alpha state? Do you think games could be more open about that, or do you think it's going to hurt the games? Like they showed us Halo Infinite before it was ready, and it triggered an entire year's worth of delay for the game. But they never said it was alpha footage. They were pushing it as like final code or whatever. But like increasingly, I think they should just be more upfront with some of this stuff. But it's also kind of cool to see the finished product. I don't know. I'm in kind of two minds about it. That's a discussion for another time. Otherwise, we're going to go off on another tangent, and we're going to end up with another 4-hour podcast.
Yeah, but people love the longer podcast. So I just want to let you know you've been cloberled as well as sloth today. So, and it's really...
Do you know what cloberl means in German?
I think he might have told me once, because I've talked to him. What does it mean?
It means toilet brush.
Toilet brush? Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah. Cloberl.
Installation 7 says, I hope the leaks about Tomb Raider aren't real. If so, Crystal Dynamics truly don't understand the IP. I haven't really taken a look at most of the leaks. I don't really know any of that stuff. But back to this whole thing. So we talked about PlayStation and what they said about Call of Duty. They mentioned like how basically nobody can replicate it. Mainly because like nobody can put 3 studios on it or 9 studios and all these employees and all that stuff, and nobody can create a rival to it, right? They basically talk about it like they would be hurt by losing the game. But where the rubber hits the road, Jez, isn't so much about like Call of Duty itself, because Sony really is being truthful. They're saying how important Call of Duty is, and they're not lying about how, best-selling game, right? It is what it is, and it's been like that for decades. Where you get a glimpse of what they're truly thinking is when they talk about Game Pass, right? They talk about Game Pass in the sense that Sony believes that it would take several years for a competitor, even with a substantial investment, to create a rival effective for Game Pass. And they mentioned that Microsoft has been on this buying spree, and essentially they were doing all these things, but Activision Blizzard takes Game Pass and almost takes it to a tipping point. And when I was reading that, in my mind, that was Sony basically telling the regulators that it's not fair. Like, they have too much. But the part that really shows what Sony thinks is that they think that the low upfront costs of subscription services like Game Pass might be anti-competitive in relation to publishers like themselves who recoup the significant investments in games, like how much they're spending on God of War and all that stuff, by selling them for an upfront free. So it's not specifically about Call of Duty. It's how Call of Duty is going to help Game Pass, where Game Pass doesn't have a competitor because it would take significant investment over years, and how Sony's worried about the future where Microsoft is essentially selling all these things for $10 and how it undercuts Sony's business strategy where they're investing hundreds of $millions in games and trying to sell their stuff for $70. Sony's arguing to regulators that could be anti-competitive and they should block over it.
It's a dumb argument.
Well, I mean, that's what they're arguing. That's what they're saying to regulators.
I think they have to realize that's a dumb argument, because Sony's saying, you regulators need to give us the ability to screw consumers with $70 games. That is not what regulators are here for. Regulators are here for offering consumers a better deal. And if Sony can't offer a better deal than Game Pass, they are screwing consumers with the $70 stuff. So that's not a good argument to make. And Sony has to know this.
I'm sure they do.
have to know this.
I'm sure they do, and that's why I was saying.
Microsoft can bypass this straight away by simply put Call of Duty into their subscription service for a fee, and they'll be like, okay, it's not undermining you anymore because now
why would they
you
do
have
that?
Call of Duty in PlayStation.
Why would they put Call of Duty in PlayStation Plus Extra? Why
to placate regulators?
But why would regulators even care? Like, I think Microsoft is going to keep Call of Duty multi-platform.
I think they will, but I'm saying like the only argument out of that is the FTC could say, well, okay, we'll approve it, but you have to offer it to Sony into the PlayStation Plus or something. I think there's just nothing they can do to stop this happening. Because
Sure.
Microsoft can have an answer for everything. They can have an answer for literally everything. It helps shareholders, helps consumers, helps the staff at Activision Blizzard. There are literally no downsides except psychologically to Sony.
Well, that's why I was saying that Sony comes across a little bit scared. Because that's what they're arguing. It's not like what they said about Call of Duty. It's what they're talking about with Game Pass, because that's the thing that affects their bottom line. Because we've talked about this before. Everybody always kind of situates themselves and they think about the here and now and today, and they don't really look 5 to 10 years in the future, right? And I'm old enough to kind of grew up in a generation where I remember rotary phones. I remember a time where I had to memorize my friends' phone numbers. And then pagers were invented, and then like big ass cell phones, and now everybody has a cell phone. Like, I was born in the 80s. I grew up during the time where like technology shifted drastically. I remember, Be Kind Rewind with VHSs before, DVDs came out, before streaming, and CDs before Spotify. Like, where now kids just view all this stuff as the way it's always been. iPads are just a normal part of life. When that happened, when those were made for us, it was like oh my God. But to kids, it's like second nature. Right? I remember when people were talking about like nobody would ever subscribe to a subscription for music. We'll never stop buying CDs, and then people stop buying CDs and subscribe, and nobody really kind of puts in perspective what that's like Game Pass will do, right? Even cloud gaming, like, because you can basically bundle those. Like right now, cloud gaming is this thing where a lot of people, a lot of older gamers, myself included, are just like, I don't want to be at the mercy of the internet to play my games, which is a fair critique, right? Because cloud gaming is so new, a lot of us older guys are just kind of like I don't want to use this. But what Microsoft's really do is not so much cloud gaming is not about now. It's about the future. It's about 10 years from now. It's about normalizing cloud gaming for future generations. So when that 8-year-old grows up 10 years from now, when he gets on Xbox for the first time, cloud gaming's actually there. And so cloud gaming, it will basically be a standard in the way people grow up with iPads as a standard. And nobody really thinks like that. And then you apply that same logic to Game Pass. We're all old gamers. I've been around since, the Ataris, the NESs and shit. And how you always interacted with video games and bought stuff was like you paid full price, you bought things $80, maybe you went to Blockbuster and rented it, maybe you rented stuff from GameFly, and that's how people interacted. And now you have a subscription service finally, and it's really cheap, and Microsoft is all in on it, and Sony isn't, right? But Microsoft is also sort of playing the game essentially where Game Pass is also about future generations. There's always going to be that kid that comes into something new for the very first time, right? So my story about how kids growing up with iPads think it's normal, or kids hoping that, Microsoft hopes that kids that eventually grow up and play Xbox, they normalize cloud gaming. The same with Game Pass. So you have future generations, because you have the older generations aging out and the future generations coming in. You can apply it to both Call of Duty as well, because eventually Call of Duty will just be synonymous with Xbox. So an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old playing right now, in a couple years, all he's going to know is that it's Xbox, and that's just how it's going to be. But then also, like I said, with Game Pass, essentially is that these kids, their first experience on consoles is going to be the situation where you subscribe for a low price and you have like 300, 400 games at your fingertips. They'll just think it's normal, and they'll think anybody that doesn't do it is weird. Just like how kids grew up with like iPads and stuff, think that you didn't have this before, that's weird. And that's truly could potentially be damaging to anybody who might be still in that $70 business of selling games. If you're changing consumer habit and you're starting off with future generations. I mean, you've talked about it before, Jez, like you have nephews and stuff or whatever that play mobile phones, and they just view free-to-play games and microtransactions just as a normal thing, right? It's just, it's completely normal to them to be able to skip past stuff or buy things, right? Like, that's to be expected, because that's how they got into gaming, and it was the first thing that happened. It's like, this is just how it is. It wasn't like it for us when we were growing up. Nobody really talks about the future ramifications of younger generations getting into gaming and then having Game Pass and cloud gaming all being there and thinking that's the normal thing. And Sony clearly, I also feel, knows that. And they're like, well, you're getting Call of Duty, which is this game that they basically sucked off to regulators. And you're talking about Game Pass in a way, like, nobody compete with Game Pass. And then you talk about, like, that could be anti-competitive in the future, because people might gravitate towards that style versus the one that we're doing, and we're going to be at a disadvantage because of it. So, I mean, what do you am I just blabbing? Do I making any sense? I don't know. Maybe I'm not.
No, you make total sense, and it's just, I don't believe Sony's argument, That is Sony's argument. And maybe they're right. Maybe it will do some sort of significant damage to them, but it doesn't matter what damage it does to Sony. It matters whether or not it's good for consumers. And I think that's ultimately what regulators will take into consideration above everything else. Does it benefit consumers at the end of the day? And does it prevent PlayStation from being competitive? I don't think it does. Because Microsoft will make the point that, like, small games, independent games, absolutely blow up and become, like, phenomenons overnight, like your Minecrafts, like your Among Us, like your Fall Guys, and, and it's happening all the time. It's happening all the damn time. The only hope AAA gaming has is subscription services, I think. Because increasingly, these free-to-play games are just siphoning off more and more users. And you talk about little kids growing up thinking like subscription services are the norm. That whole ideology is competing directly with free-to-play games. Like, I've got a little cousin who's Gen Z, and we were like hanging out, and I was like, "Do you want to try playing Minecraft?" And she was shocked that Minecraft costs money. She was shocked that it costs money because she plays Genshin Impact, which is free, and all these other games which are free. And she was like, "Wait, Minecraft costs money?" Like, it was mind blowing to her. And that's like what kids today are growing up with the mentality of, that games are supposed to be free. Game Pass helps to offset that, because if you're a little kid and your parents pay for Game Pass, you'll still have the perception that the games are free, right? So it's there are a lot of aspects to this, and I think, like, if the interesting effects it's going to have on the market are just probably unknown right now. There's like a chap going back and forth with me on in chat about the way Spotify has negatively impacted the music industry for some, But you could argue that's directly comparable because you can't sell microtransactions on top of an album.
When Spotify
And
also
a lot of-
literally has every music that comes out, where like Game Pass never will have every game that releases. So
Yeah, Game Pass is a curated library of games that cycle in, cycle out, and also they get an upfront fee on top of engagement bonuses. It's not like Spotify's business model where Spotify, I don't know if you know this, but Spotify, like, what it does is they have like something called the Creator Fund or something, where like they get all the money in, all the profits, and then they allocate how much of that profit you get amongst everyone based on how many streams you get. So basically, it skews very, very heavily towards, trending music. Basically, like if you're an individual who like makes up the bulk of streams that month on one song, you'll earn way more than like a legacy band that has like their entire catalog on Spotify just on the basis of one song. So it's a very different business model. It's very, very different. And it's not even like Netflix is not comparable to Microsoft because Netflix literally only has one revenue stream, its subscribers. Whereas Microsoft has like the microtransactions and the DLC. Like, yeah, you can get Minecraft Dungeons base game on Game Pass, but if you want all those juicy expansions, you have to pay $5 a pop. There's a sort of, there's a whole business revolving around this that I think Spotify and Netflix and other streaming services, they don't have the same diversity of revenue streams. Yeah, you can buy T-shirts for your band you like through Spotify, and they've started doing concert tickets now. But it's kind of like, it's just different. It's just different.
Yeah, but before I say what explain Microsoft's whole nothing unique or must-have thing, JP Sandals says, "Hello, Jez. I made a fantasy football mobile game. How would I go about finding a way to pitch my game to Microsoft and Xbox?"
Well, my friend, what you would do is you would go to xbox.com/developers/id and try and pitch it through the Idea Xbox program. You can just search at id Xbox on Bing or your chosen search provider. I use Bing, Rand. Do you use Bing?
No.
I use Bing. You get Microsoft points if you use Bing.
I know you do, but I don't use Bing.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Yeah. You don't even want the free points. You get loads of free points if you use Bing, man. But anyway, yeah, if you search for ID at Xbox on Google or wherever, you can find out how to pitch a game and potentially publish through Xbox like that.
Yeah. Jeffy says Sony better adapt or turn into Blockbuster. I don't know if it's anything that serious, but Sony's just trying to protect their business interests, and I think they desperately don't want to turn a situation where they have to. Like, they're leaving their options open. Like Jim Ryan has said, like, yeah, we're not doing day one games and subscription services. But then he literally is like, but we don't know how the future's going to go. So they haven't shut the door on it. And I think they're just trying to feel out how this thing goes. Maybe they're trying to, like, wait out Xbox. Maybe they feel that Microsoft isn't going to essentially burn money forever on this thing. And that maybe they really feel like, no, this can't be done. And I think they're worried that it can be done and it will change consumers' how they interact and buy things to the point where, like, Sony themselves is forced to switch models, which would really impact their financials, which would probably impact, like, Sony's stock pricing. So they're probably hoping it doesn't take off. So that's why they're complaining to regulators that it's not fair because it could be anti-competitive towards their business. So Joshua says, yearly fundraising stream to fly Jez to Chicago. Jez to Chicago? What?
Hell yeah, let's do it.
But then the other part of this was Microsoft's response, because they basically came out and said that, there's nothing unique about these games. There's nothing must-have about these games towards other, like, stores or whatever. And obviously people laughed about it. As they should, because why else are you spending $70 billion on something? Like, of course it's must-have and unique. That's why you spend the money. But I think people don't realize that at the end of the day, this is Microsoft basically talking to regulators. They're not saying that Call of Duty is not like they're not talking about Call of Duty specific. They're basically saying like, look, you don't need Call of Duty on your platform to compete. There's nothing unique about it that way. There's nothing must-have about it that way. And Microsoft could literally make the argument that look at the Nintendo Switch. When's the last time it had a Call of Duty game? COD. And yet it sells more than anybody. They're not, they're doing just fine without Call of Duty. Hey, when's the last time a Call of Duty game was on Steam? It's been a long, long time. Steam has no problem still being the number one, marketplace for games on PC without Call of Duty. So like there's the argument that Microsoft is making is just like, yeah, there's nothing special about you don't need this game to run your business effectively, so but then they also kind of went at Sony, Jez. I don't know if you saw this as well. They let me find it here. They talked about it in the New Zealand thing where they said that Sony and Nintendo have strong differentiated offerings, including their own exclusive titles. For example, IDC has identified that key Sony exclusive titles in 2018 include God of War and Spider-Man, in addition to other prominent titles such as Last of Us and Uncharted. These titles partially reflect Sony's vertical integration. For example, Sony's film studio owns the rights to Spider-Man, but also its broader strategy of obtaining rights that make third-party games exclusive to its console. And in paragraph 205, they mentioned Final Fantasy VII is an exclusive from Sony, and surprisingly, it includes a redacted note from Microsoft. So
interesting. I wonder what the redacted note says.
I would love to know what's under that black bar. Probably something about the deal, but basically Microsoft's like, what about Sony using their leverage as market leader, spending millions of dollars to basically collect exclusives from third parties to keep it off our platform? So it's like they're just going back and forth because Sony doesn't want this to happen. They're protecting their business interests. Microsoft wants it to happen, so they'll say anything. So it's just two companies saying anything, and it's just funny to see both of them kind of go back and forth about it. I don't know. I thought it was interesting because
it is interesting.
You don't normally see this stuff. You don't. So
no, you don't. You don't normally see this stuff.
Yeah, Tech Money says, can you imagine the money COD will make on Switch? Yeah, I mean, Microsoft's even said that they're going to bring COD to the Switch. So, they want COD to be everywhere. I know, there's still people out there that think this is all smoke and mirrors, Jez, that, once the deal goes through, Phil's going to laugh in the face of the FTC and being like, you thought we were going to make this multi-platform? Xbox only, baby. There's still people out there that really think that. But I mean, you've been saying since day one, what? What have you been saying I remember when we did the show back in January after they were acquired, and chat hated you for it. What did you say since day one?
Halo's bad.
Well, besides that.
Oh. What? I don't know. What did I say?
You said that Call of Duty was going to be multi-platform, and everybody hated you for it, remember?
Oh, yeah. I said it was a ritual.
A ritual.
It's a ritual. Call of Duty, the annualized Call of Duty is a ritual. You don't break a ritual. If you break a ritual, bad things happen. Ouija boards and shit. So, yeah. They'll keep it multi-platform. And they've pretty much said they will. And if you come out and say,
Phil's
we're
nice
going to
guy.
do this, and then you do some...
Pushy Polygon says,
Phil's
a nice guy. Yeah.
Phil's a nice guy, and you can't, if you're a business and you come out and say you're going to do one thing and then you just pivot and do the other thing, it's within reason. It makes you look bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I fully expect all those games will be multi-platform, and they can, like you say, they can argue that it's beneficial for consumers because they'll even use their technology to bring it to the Nintendo Switch. They'll slap it on Linux for the Steam Deck, probably. Phil's talked about getting World of Warcraft on more platforms as well. It's it's gonna happen. There's just too much benefits for everyone involved. The only person who doesn't benefit is Sony shareholders, and even that's arguable.
I just saw a thread where a guy says, "Hello, Amazon today announced that it would pay $1.7 billion to acquire iRobot, the company behind the Roomba robot vacuum. It may be the most dangerous, threatening acquisition in the company's history." And he has like a huge thread about it, about how Amazon's acquisition of this company is potentially the most dangerous, threatening acquisition in Amazon's history.
Why? Why? What's bad about it? Because Amazon's evil?
Well, essentially, how Roombas are very popular. They're in 40 million homes. Basically goes on to say, I don't know.
That's what?
Basically, I don't know. Like, here, I'll send it to you. You can read it on your own time.
Clickbait?
You can read it.
I just wondered if you brought it up because it was like relevant.
Well, I mean, I just thought it was interesting. Like, I don't know. I'm like trying to read it, but also we got a podcast to do, so maybe they're gonna put cameras and microphones in your floor or in this product, so like now like the microphone and camera can follow you around the house instead of and send it and send about, data back to it and stuff.
It's the threads about anti-competitiveness. They're saying like if Amazon buys iRobot, then it's anti-competitive. iRobot have a lot of patents, and from a privacy perspective, it's a nightmare because Roombas have little cameras and they follow you around your house. But to that I say, the ship has already blue sailed. Everyone's got Amazon Echoes. Everyone's got Ring doorbells. Privacy nightmare. 2022, we're already there. What? Just giving Amazon a Roomba, like. Who cares at this point? Yeah. I don't care.
Well,
I hate Roombas though because they always get stuck on things, and because we've got in our house in Germany, we've got a wood fire central heating system. So you put wood in and it makes warm, and the warm goes through the middle of the house and it warms the whole house up, right? We had a Roomba robot vacuum, and it was going around the house. And like a little ember from the fire must have blown out of the wood thing, and it went into the Roomba, and it basically exploded because of all the dust and all the dry stuff inside the vacuum, caught fire and shit. So I'm just like, okay, Roombas are a bad idea. And it was always getting caught on things, getting stuck on the carpet. I have to baby it like a child. Why not just gonna use a regular vacuum cleaner, man? I don't know. That's just me. But then, then again, I don't have a large American house with wooden floors. They don't work so well in Europe. I think small, narrow houses. But yeah, that's Roombas. That's Roombas. We are now the Roomba podcast.
The Roomba podcast,
sponsored by Amazon. Daddy Jeff Bezos just dropped $1 billion trillion in my house, and I'm going to sip a margarita on the beach. So see you later.
Well, let's talk about a leak that you put out that is going to be right, because Microsoft kind of announced with no fanfare really that Xbox Game Pass Family Pay is a thing, and it's currently in testing in 2 countries, in Colombia and Ireland, which is strange because Microsoft usually tests this stuff out in the US, but they're doing it differently this time, and so basically, this is for, you can invite 4 of your friends to take advantage of all the things that Game Pass Ultimate offers. So, essentially, if it was me, I would essentially get your Microsoft email account that's tied to your gamer tag. I go and I ask friends. They give me their email. I input it on my end, and it would give you and anybody, and up to 4 other people, so 5 people, Game Pass console, Game Pass PC, as well as EA Play console and PC, and cloud streaming for what is essentially $25 a month. There's some conversion they do, because you do have to convert your account if you have Game Pass Ultimate. I believe the conversion rate is 1 month of Ultimate converts to 18 days of Game Pass Family. So
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about this?
Well, I just want to, pat myself on the back, Rand.
Yeah.
A little pat there. I leaked that shit, and people were questioning me because they were like, "Hang on a sec, this wasn't announced at E3."
That wasn't.
And I was like, "Oh god, it wasn't announced at E3. I'm a bit nervous now." But then it's announced now instead, a little bit later than expected. But here we are, the first iteration of Xbox Family Plan. And at the time, Rand, I think I did tell you that I'd heard it was going to be $25.
You did say
Do you
it was
remember
going to
that?
be $25. Yes.
Yeah, and I didn't post that at the time because I was kind of like, man, that sounds very low.
That is aggressive pricing.
Yeah, it's aggressive pricing.
I mean, because
like,
it comes down to $5 per account, essentially $5.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, is this a typo? Do they mean $35? So I was kind of like, I won't report on the pricing because that sounds amazing. It sounds too good to be true. But it's 21.99 euros in Ireland right now, which should roughly translate to $25 USD, even though the euro and the dollar is parity right now. But I think Microsoft has kind of hinted that the prices aren't final or something, and that maybe there's potentiality, my favorite made-up word, potentiality. Maybe there's potentiality for them to change the price or raise it down the line because, Amazon Prime's gone up in price, Netflix has gone up in price. Everything's gone up in price. Basically, the only thing that hasn't gone up in price is Microsoft subscriptions, which is really strange. And it is insane value. It really does offer insane value. And it's Ultimate too. It's Xbox Game Pass Ultimate on 5 accounts using your Microsoft account family section. So if you go to accounts.microsoft.com/family, you can already invite people to your family right now. Control if they're a youngster. You can control like what games they can play. Like you can stop your 4-year-old from playing The Evil Within if you want to, or you can allow them to play The Evil Within if you want to. You're the parent, right? I probably wouldn't be a very good parent, Rand.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be.
You don't think so?
Yeah, probably not. But yeah, it's here, and I'm here for it. The only restriction is you need to all be in the same country. So like, I wouldn't be able to share Rand my Xbox Game Pass because he's over there in the United States.
You would. You just would have to go and change your region on your console, probably.
We'll see. We'll see how easy it is for that kind of stuff.
Well, there's other restrictions too. Like they're gonna limit how many people you can invite into the plan and how many plans you can join. You know what I mean? I saw a developer at Xbox talk about that on Reset Era, essentially.
Yeah, like the other restriction is that console sharing for the secondary accounts won't work for the subscription. So right now, for example, if I share Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with Rand, and then Rand signs into someone else's Xbox, the other people on that Xbox wouldn't get access to the family plan. Only people who are on the family plan get it. So that kind of stuff. And Bruno HD just said that Game Pass Ultimate had an increase of 12.5% in Brazil. I didn't know that. So, Microsoft is adjusting prices and stuff based on whatever's going on, I guess. And I suspect that the UK will have price increases. It has to. UK inflation is going to hit 13% apparently. Absolutely whack. But anyway, that's Xbox Game Pass Family Plan. I think it's really cool, and I think the aggressive pricing, I kind of echo. I think that kind of echoes the. I want to echo what Jeff Grubb said. And I can't remember if he said this on a podcast or on Twitter because my memory is just really bad. But Jeff Grubb said that like they're essentially paying for marketing here. Like if you get 5 people into Game Pass, it's going to do what account sharing kind of did for Netflix. So the reason why Netflix have been so reluctant to limit password sharing is because it markets the platform. If everyone's sharing their Netflix subscription, they tell other people about Netflix, and it makes It makes things like Stranger Things go viral. It does what free-to-play games does. Like if everyone's talking about the game, it creates buzz, which markets itself. That's why games like Multiverses blew up to like 100,000 concurrent players on Steam, because it's free. You reduce the barrier to access. Loads of people can play. People talk about it. They'll make their friends play. They'll make their friends subscribe. And you'll get groups of friends like working together to subscribe and stuff like that. And they'll be like, yeah, let's all pitch in $5 a month together. Get Game Pass Ultimate between us. And then Microsoft will be able to go to shareholders or say that, Game Pass has increased, usage has increased by 5 billion% this quarter, thanks to, Family Plan or whatever. So, and also they'll be able to take those audience figures to their developers and be like, hey, Square Enix, give us Tactics Ogre. Look how many gamers we've got on Game Pass Ultimate, So it's all that kind of stuff. I think it's only a good thing. We've all been asking for it for ages. I think I've written 2 editorials calling for Family Plan to be made. And Microsoft heard that feedback loud and clear, and now they're pushing ahead with it. So I think it's pretty awesome. Are you gonna get it, Rand? Do you have a group of friends in mind that you want to get Family Plan?
I mean,
with?
all my friends have Game Pass, so it's not like I need to. It's not that anybody even needs it, and I don't have any kiddos, so probably not.
I thought you had 10 kiddos.
No, thank God. Thank
You
God.
probably got kids, and you probably don't even realize it. Like Elon. Elon's probably just got loads of like little random kids running around, don't even know about it.
Yeah, but
guys, I've heard that Rand's a player. I've heard that Rand's a big player.
Please. No, but this could potentially be big. Potentially, because you never know with Microsoft and how well people would be even aware of this. And that's the thing that makes me kind of stop, because like the idea of a low price of $25 a month, someone paying $5, where then you could like each give the buddy $5 and like have all these games, like that's insane, right? Like, especially when you combine it with like Call of Duty and all that stuff that eventually happened. But we've talked, even last week about Xbox's marketing and how sometimes they're not as coordinated, or they don't market things like we think they should. If I was Microsoft, as soon as this goes live to everybody, or what, I would be shouting this from the rooftops, because you're talking like people already view Game Pass as like the best value in gaming, right? But this is even a better value, because it's even like it works out to $5, which is cheaper than the fifth. So it's like you could essentially somehow create a marketing campaign around the fact that like, hey, bring each of your friends and enjoy all these games for essentially free. Well, 4 people will get it for free. And then you talk about like combining Xbox Series S, which is the cheapest console. We're about to hit a recession. People are spending less money on games. So if you can somehow get more people into the ecosystem through the cheaper console, and then have those people actually start playing more games, or playing games for the first time, and maybe buying games and buying microtransactions in the games they're playing, as like I saw Jeff Grubb say to somebody on Twitter, basically that like studies show that friends, when they play together, spend more money on microtransactions when they play the same games together, right? So like there's this thought in my head that like if marketed properly, combined with the right type of games, this could be the thing that Microsoft is looking for. That Michael Pachter's like 100 million doesn't sound like off base, because how they report numbers. Let's just say, does each one of those people count as a number, Jez? So it's like, if 10 million of the 25 million that they have right now suddenly add 5 people, is that now 75 million people? Because you just added,
yeah,
6. Does that 60 million people? Because you just added 4 people to the 10. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how would they report that stuff? Because I'm sure people would scream
They'll count it.
Because you already have PlayStation fans screaming about the Series S and how it's not fair. you can't count the Series S sales numbers with the Series X. It's not fair or whatever. Like, they're already screaming, stop the count, right? Imagine, them, and because Microsoft really doesn't talk about numbers and breaks it down like other companies do. And if like Game Pass has 40 or 50 million subs, there are people going to be like, was that actually paying subs, or is that like all the people in Family Plan?
Yeah.
So people will.
I think like it's. I know what you're getting at. Like, and fanboys they'll spin it, but I actually think it's a valid point to make, because I was thinking like, if I get Game Pass Family Plan, and I probably will get it, I'll attach probably my girlfriend, and then maybe some other members of my family. I don't think they'd use it that much. I think they might have to switch to monthly active users if that becomes the case. Because honestly, I don't think I really want my girlfriend to get into gaming, right? She is hardcore Tetris Battle Royale player on Nintendo Switch. I can't remember what that game's called. It's like, do you know what I'm talking about? There's a Tetris Battle Royale game on Nintendo Switch that's exclusive to Nintendo Online. So I paid for Nintendo Online Family Plan. And Nintendo has a family plan for their online subscription service. And literally, just so my girlfriend can play Tetris. Because I'm happy that she's at least playing something. And I'm thinking like, I'll get Game Pass Family Plan, and then I'll try and angle that she tries out some games in Game Pass, right? Tetris effect. There you go. So I'll try and angle that she plays some games in Game Pass, and but I know she won't use it that much. She likes some puzzle games here and there, but it's Tetris 99, not Tetris effect. Yeah. Oh, and also I want to correct what I said earlier, Rand. I said clobrill means toilet brush, but it actually means toilet seat.
Oh, it's even worse.
But this is where it gets even more confusing. Brille actually means glasses. So clo means toilet and brille means glasses. So it really means toilet glasses, referring to a toilet seat. So I suppose because it's a rim shape and it looks like glasses. I don't know. Maybe there's a German in the chat who can explain that. Again, tangent time. But I think it's a good point to make that like a lot of people who are in Xbox Family Plan probably might not even use it that much. Little kids, maybe they won't use it so much as like, a hardcore gamer nerd that like a lot of the people in Xbox Game Pass right now are probably fairly hardcore with it, I would say. But like a lot of the people you attach through Family Plan, they're going to have different user behavior. So maybe Microsoft has to sort of pivot from reporting total subscribers to, monthly active users. I don't know. But even then, like Beer Baron just said in chat, I don't think it's worth overanalyzing. Maybe it is. Maybe it is just overanalysis. But that's what podcasts are for. We're here to analyze things. So, what else are we supposed to talk about? Margaritas on the beach.
So I mean, like they introduced Game Pass $10, right? They introduced Ultimate $15. Now they're going to introduce Family Plan, which is $25. So like they're trying to get people to pay more, right? So I just think this could be like, it really depends. This could be absolutely massive combined with the Series S, but you have to market it properly. Like people would have to know about it, or it could just be. A nice thing, but not many people use it. I guess it really depends. It really does. Because if you can get like a must-have games that people just dying to play, and they're like, you can play this you just join my Family Plan, and now they're hooked. Like that could be like something that really takes off. But we talk about Xbox's marketing sometimes, and it's just like, well. Like, what if, like, the only people that market this are, like, me and you, because I'll make a video about it or whatever, right? And it's just, like, nobody else really knows about it. So I guess it really just depends. But Flash Gordon says, bring back the Kinect. How about no? Let's not bring back the
Bring back Kinect. I want Kinect. I want Kinect back. I really actually do. Just as a quick aside, there was some rumors this week of an Xbox VR headset. Did you see this? So Among Us is beta testing VR right now. Among Us has a VR version coming, which sounds amazing, frankly. Like Among Us in VR, that sounds really cool. And one of the one of the platforms listed on their survey was Xbox Moda.
What is
Which
that?
VR headset do you own? Which VR headset do you own? And one of them was Xbox Moda. But I don't think it's anything, because I've looked into this. I've asked around. Moda as a code name doesn't appear anywhere. And also, this list that Among Us put out for testing VR, like, it didn't even include the Quest 2. So, Quest 2 is like the world's most popular VR headset right now. So I think someone screwed up with that list. I don't think it exists, but hey, I could be wrong. Maybe there's a Kinect VR headset coming out. Or maybe actually the entire Microsoft augmented reality division is going to get shut down since Alex Kipman got fired. But
Interesting.
oh well.
I didn't see that. No. Zane Bashir says, "Will all 5 accounts be able to use Microsoft rewards? If so, each account can make $15 to $20 a month. That's crazy."
That is interesting to think about. I might look into that.
Yeah,
I'll find out.
Definitely look into that.
I don't know.
Man, you mentioned Bitcoin and crypto bros earlier, and they showed up in chat, huh?
No, we got bots.
Yeah, which means they subscribe.
Should we do a test?
What?
Cryptography, crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, NFTs, Web3, the blockchain. Right, now let's see how many subscribers Rand gets from NFTs and shit. I don't know why I'm laughing, because I'll just have to ban everyone that tries to come through now. Do you think bots are really that sophisticated that they listen to keywords we say and then point their bot guns at us? Is that what it's like now?
So Mocha Smiley says, "Damn, these guys can't say something positive about Microsoft has done Family Pass and leave it just at that. They seem to actively look for shit to be negative about." Huh?
Eh?
Huh?
What?
Huh?
Huh?
That's an odd take.
That's a take.
That's definitely
there's literally there's nothing negative about it. Is it because I was saying like they might put the price up, or because I thought $25 is too good to be true? I mean, that's a good thing. That I'm saying it seems too good to be true, because like that's high value. I don't get that.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally. I literally said, I was like, this could be the biggest thing ever and could help Microsoft in so many ways, but it really depends on their marketing. Like, I didn't say anything at all of like, this sucks. And Microsoft, like, I don't know how you could possibly come to that conclusion about being negative. I don't get it. You must be listening to a different show than the one we're talking about right now. I don't know.
Yeah. Should we wrap it up there, Rand?
Yeah. I mean, let's take some questions before we get out of here.
Yeah, questions.
Because Jez is hungry because he did a show before this.
I haven't eaten.
And he hasn't eaten.
I'm starving.
So are we moving the podcast to start at 2:30 instead of 2:15 now? Is that what's happening? Because you have to do this other show? Is that Jez?
You don't have to. I mean, it would help a little bit if we moved it 15 minutes back.
Okay.
Would that annoy everyone if it was 15 minutes later?
I mean, maybe we
though.
just keep it at the same time we always do. So.
Yeah, it might just be that I get here 5 minutes before we go live rather than 15 minutes.
Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, put them in chat. We'll do our best to answer them. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you, and we're going to be putting this up on Spotify and all those places soon. And yeah, we probably could have gone for another half an hour because there are some topics here. But Jez is hungry and he wants some food, so we'll have to. We got to do what Jez says.
You can make a video about the other topics, man.
Maybe.
Do a video for the weekend.
Jay Primo says, "Great show, fellas. Keep up the good work. Peppa for life." And people love the Peppa. PX Cloud says, "Achievement overhaul when?" I know they've talked about that. I don't believe it until it actually happens, because I've heard many things behind the scenes about achievement overhauls. They've tried doing this multiple times over the course of years and always gets put on the back burner. I don't think Microsoft gives two shits about achievements. Well, maybe that's a little bit harsh. I don't think Microsoft cares about overhauling the system. I think probably what they think is it's good enough for now. So, yeah, I don't think we'll see an overhaul. And that's something I would love to be wrong about. But I've been hearing about overhauls since 2015 about certain things they were going to do. And they get so far in development, and then priorities change, and they don't do those things anymore. And it's happened multiple times, from my understanding. So I don't think it's gonna happen. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news on that one. I
think it will. I'm gonna be the opposite one.
I mean, hell,
I think it will happen eventually.
We had Mike Ybarra on this podcast when he talked about the career system. Remember? Or did he? Yeah. Or did you leak the career system? Or did he? He talked about how they were going to change things. Remember? Yeah.
I leaked it, and then they denied it, and then they uploaded the patent for it, and then they admitted it was real. So yeah, but yeah, I think they will do something with it eventually. But honestly, I heard, Rand, that when I heard that Microsoft was confident that they were going to get Game Pass natively onto iOS, and when they didn't, it really scuppered a lot of their plans. So they pivoted a lot of their devs to the web version of Xbox Game Pass because they know they need to be on everything, right? So they were assuming Apple was going to let Game Pass onto their platform, but they didn't. So yeah,
I think it's funny that they thought Apple was going to let them on there because I could have told them that was never going to happen.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's see. What else we got here? Clicks. He says, "Here's my question: the Xbox Twitter account has a seventh power on their username. What are they teasing?" Jez?
I did see that. I have no idea what they're teasing with that.
Isn't that
actually?
Isn't that just like BTS stuff they just did with the controller thing? Something?
BTS?
Like, isn't that like the K-pop band thing?
Yeah, it's BTS. Yeah, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, okay." So I tweeted at Xbox, "Why are you Xbox 7, mate?" And Miles Dompierre comes in with, "You clearly aren't hip with the tunes, Jez." And then Shatro Games says it's a BTS fan thing because of the new song and the custom controller. Yeah, it's BTS.
Yeah.
BTS being a Korean boy band, I think.
Yeah, I think K-pop.
I'm pretending I don't know. I actually totally know.
It's all about
you like K-pop, right, Rand?
Never listened to K-pop. Never. Sorry.
You never listened to Gangnam Style?
I mean, sure.
That's K-pop, right?
I've heard Gangnam Style, sir. So.
What happened to that guy? What was his name? The Gangnam Style guy? I can't remember his name. But I love that guy. What happened to him? He was way better than BTS. Oh god, I better not say that. BTS fans are crazy. No, BTS is the best. I love BTS. And the Xbox BTS controller is great. It's brilliant. Guys. It's brilliant.
Let's see.
I'm gonna get this question from Sebastian Cooper. It says, "You guys laughed at me when I said Modern Warfare 2 would show up on Game Pass this year. Do you still think I'm wrong?" I didn't mean to laugh. If we laughed, it wasn't in a mean connotation. But I don't think it'll be in Game Pass this year. I could be wrong.
There you go.
I don't think it will be.
Just stop saying that. Stop saying that. Just go with your gut.
But I could be wrong. But
Jez, you say that after literally every statement. You just whatever. You'll have documents for something like, "Hey, Xbox Game Pass you'll be like, "Xbox Game Pass Family Plan's coming, $25. I have the info right here." But I could be wrong. It's like, how are you wrong? You literally have the stuff.
Wow. Is that how it is?
Just saying. I'm trying to help you.
Is that how it is? Okay, that's fine.
I'm trying to help you. Be the best Jez Corden that you can be. You know?
Have you seen the live stream right now? It's just me putting out a tweet.
Yeah, because that's you recorded it.
Yeah, I recorded me putting the tweet out. That's hilarious.
Darren wants to know if
man.
you have any insider info on the Tencent Cloud handheld that will have Game Pass on it.
I have no information about the handheld itself. All I knew is that it was a thing that was happening. I wish I'd leaked it. But actually, maybe I don't really care about leaking it because I don't think anyone really cares about it. But it's very interesting, and it just sort of adds some credence to my opinion that Microsoft's going to make its own cloud handheld. Almost certainly, I think Microsoft's going to make their own cloud handheld. I could be wrong. We just have to wait and see. But I don't know. BTS is cool.
BTS is cool. All right. Pushing Polygons wants to know what's the pizza order tonight. Probably no pizza. I don't really order pizza very much. Sonic Chief wants to know, we talk about Tencent and Ubisoft. I mean, kind of in the beginning, we just mentioned that they're looking
But you're going to make a video about it tomorrow.
I don't know about that. Maybe.
Yeah, you're going to make a video about Square Enix's plans and Tencent's plans. That's what I heard. That's my insider. That's what I heard you were going to do. That's my inside knowledge.
Whittier says, not a question. I'm in Japan at the moment, planning to buy a Series S for $237 retail.
Nice.
That's a pretty good deal.
I want to go to Japan so badly. Do you want to go to Japan, Rand?
Not really, no.
Why not?
I don't know. I just don't. Face says,
Commit all the way.
do you think, Jez, and Rand, do you think do you think EA is sincere about single-player games are important to them? Well, they just say they're really important part of their portfolio.
Kind of.
I mean, if they're making a Black Panther game, and the rumor is they're making a second Marvel game, which might be Iron Man, plus all the Respawn single-player stuff, it definitely seems more of a priority, the Dead Space remake, than it used to be in years past. But I just remember that one tweet where, like, he thinks he's a 10, but he plays single-player games or whatever. Remember when they did that?
The social team, they just apparently what happened was it was some agency, and they're like out of touch basically with the EA's audience, and they're screwed up and whatever. But it's kind of like, I also don't believe EA when they say single player is important to them, because you just have to look at how much money they don't make from single player games. I think maybe culturally, it's sort of, at least for now, important to them, because everyone hates them because they didn't make any good single player games for ages, and they have wasted Mass Effect and they have wasted Dragon Age. They did force BioWare to try and make a service game and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. I don't think anything EA says is sincere.
Think about it like this. They're saying it's really important to their a really important part of their portfolio, right? Which is a collection of the games they're making, which they are being truthful about, because it is like they're doing a lot of them. So it's part of their portfolio. They didn't really say it's really an important part of their business, though, did they? They just said it's an important part of their portfolio. True.
I think they're talking. They're just talking about the optics, really. I just don't have any faith in anything that relates to EA these days. Yeah. I said that before.
Zane Brashear says, will the PS deal with Activision prevent day one of COD games on Game Pass? Probably. Although, who knows? I would if I had it gunned ahead, I would say yes, it would prevent it. However, in these sort of contracts, there's always like an out clause. There's always like void contract sort of thing. And it probably didn't make sense to get out of the Deathloop or Ghostwire Tokyo deal. It probably would have Xbox probably could have gotten out of those deals and be like, we're not releasing these games on PlayStation, and we'll just pay the fine or whatever it would be, or whatever the agreed upon voiding of the contract would be. Which I would kind of agree with. It's probably not a good idea if you're just got to pay millions to break that contract. However...
You mean like Elon?
Yeah. However, maybe breaking a contract about Call of Duty marketing might be worth it. That
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. But I'm just going to go and say they'll probably honor their contracts like they've said. And if the contracts say they can't have Call of Duty in a subscription service for X amount of time, that's probably something they'll agree to, unless, like Jez says, maybe they leverage Call of Duty and Sony gives them back some things and Microsoft's like, you can have some of these things, but we want this and that. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out eventually. Let's see what else we got here. The Bitcoin people showed up again, Jez. Bitcoin people.
Yeah, ban those dudes. Ban them.
Yeah.
Just like Microsoft and in Mojang banned NFTs from Minecraft.
Yeah. So anyways, I think that's it. So thank you guys for being here. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. I think I might put out a video tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that, because I'll try to be making regular videos again. And, I guess thank Jez for forcing me to do Peppa Pig, because you'll never see Peppa Pig ever again. It's a one-time thing. Peppa Pig is now dead. And we will see you next week on August 12th, next Friday, for some more discussion about whatever's going on. And if you ever need some products from Manscaped, use code XB2 at the checkout, 20% off. They got a lot of great stuff there. So thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring the show. And we will see everybody next week. Thank you, guys. And have a great weekend. Later.